And
Yeah, and I'll bring up the other computer,
okay,
and we're live.
all right. Hey, John,
Hey, Paul.
what's going on?
Well, I'm
Visiting.
I'm here watching the tournament because there's a free day in Sitges, Spain. Otherwise, I'd be watching old mechanics member, who's not so old, Hans Niemann, march forward. He's now in the top 100 players in the world, and I recall about 8 or 9 years ago when he came to mechanics, he was rated 800, and after 1 year of tournament play, he's an expert.
Yeah, he was quite a charming little rapscallion, and now he's one of the strongest players in the world. But okay, I lost my train of thought, but that's fine. This is round 2 of the John Donaldson Championship, of the second John Donaldson.
Third.
That's the third.
We did the
I'm
first
losing
live.
track.
Did the first live, and the second was online.
But
Wait a minute.
do you know it's a championship and not a memorial?
There's no camera on us. Maybe people can hear us, but they can't see
Oh,
us.
how funny!
That's just the way. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be?
Oh, boom! There we go.
Or are we supposed to be not seen or heard?
Yeah. All right, let's
Watch,
see
watch,
if
watch.
it pops up.
There you
Yeah, there we are. Okay, I'm feeding Master Paul Whitehead. You can see my mask move. Next to me is International Master John Donaldson. We're here for the third John Donaldson Championship.
Yeah. 2019 live, 2020 online. Gadir, I believe, won it last year.
Gadir won this. Gadir Guzinev,
And then here we are
Grandmaster.
live. 70 players.
Fantastic.
Round 2.
Yeah, live. You can see up above us. There's about half the chess room. John, how are you?
Doing well. I'm just working on another Fisher book right now and looking forward to playing over the board in 2022.
Wow, what's your first tournament going to be?
It's going to be the David Collier Memorial in Spokane. It's a tournament that I've played in for many, many years. It's held to honor one of the strongest players in Eastern Washington, and it should be a very good tournament. And that'll be in towards the end of February, so I'm hoping that I'll get this book finished before then, and it looks like that's going to be the case. But I'm hoping to play a lot more, especially knock on wood, things will get to be more normal.
Like norm tournaments? Are you still?
Yeah, eventually yes, but I'm not sure. In terms of, I think short term, I just need to get the rest off, so I'll play locally if we find it.
Right, yeah. So, any sneak previews of the new Fisher book? What's it?
It'll be different.
Okay.
The focus will be on Fisher as a writer, and I think most people are well familiar with 60 Memorable Games, or they're very well familiar with Bobby Fischer Teaches Chess. Maybe some, but not as many, would be familiar with the little book that he produced on his first U.S. championship victory. But he did a lot of writing besides that. He had, in particular, he wrote for Chess Life. He had a regular column, like in 1963, 64. He wrote for his friend Larry Evans' American Chess Quarterly, and of course he wrote a couple, famous article on the greatest chess masters of all time for Chess World, Frank Brady's short-lived magazine. So he did quite a bit of writing, and he, so the idea is to try to gather all this writing, which also was in like European magazines here and there, to get it all in one place, to get it out of algebraic, out of English descriptive and put it into algebraic, and then also to do some commentary on on his work and try to put some of it into context and explain, some of the idiosyncrasies of Fisher. But I'm having good fun doing it, and hopefully a few people will enjoy reading it as well.
Yeah, I mean, his top 10 list is, people still talk about that, and it's easy to understand why, he left Botvinnik off there. I think Botvinnik was just obviously one of the part of the Russian machine that he was But why do you think he left Lasker off that list?
Well, he made it very clear it wasn't the top 10 players of all time. It was the 10 people he felt made the most important contribution to chess.
right.
And that point became very clear to me because one of our old timers here at the Mechanics, Frank Thornley, who's a FIDE master, he was living in San Francisco in 1964, and that was the year Fischer made his great tour around the United States. And he paid a stop to the Mechanics Institute in April. And when he did, Thornley very much wanted to attend the exhibition, but he was working and he could only get there at the very end. And so he asked Fischer a question as Fischer was leaving the building. It was like, why no Lasker? And he said, I put the 10 down I thought made the most important contribution. So hence, like, Staunton, who probably wouldn't have been on there as a player, but he felt Staunton was very influential as a theoretician.
Right, that makes sense. I see what, yeah.
Yeah, he did put out a revised list in like 1970 that was a little bit different.
But Lasker was still not on that list.
I don't know if he was or not. I forget.
Right.
But I know that Robert Byrne, for example, who's a big Lasker fan, back 40, 50 years ago, he really talked to Bobby and said, you should really, rethink your views on this. But Fischer had his own quirks. He was very much like a Capablanca fan. He really appreciated the clarity of Capablanca's play, whereas he felt like Ellerheim was like too heavy. It was like all this, massive preparation for some big attack.
And it's funny, Botvinnik was like that too, like a kind of a heavy-handed kind of style in a way, maybe not very refined.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing that Botvinnik would be impressed with today, and that is the opening erudition that class players have today. I mean, I remember back in the day when players below 2,000, they just kind of played the opening on like a prayer. But today, as we can see from some of these games that are being played
let's
in
look
this
at some of
tournament,
this.
Even players, below 2,000 can be surprisingly well versed in opening theory. If they get their sort of position they like, they can be quite dangerous.
So this is the Donaldson Championship. We have, I'm not sure the strength of the, actually so this is A player versus expert on board one. These players, this is round two, so these, all the games we're going to be looking at, pretty much players have perfect scores. Actually, that's not quite true. There's some draws here too, but these players are both 1-0. Henry Dang, I was watching his first round. He's the national elementary school champion. I think he's like 8 or 9 years old. He's a rated expert, and I would be scared of facing this kid in a tournament game.
And look at how he's playing here. He decided to defend the Roy Lopez, and he chose to play the Breyer. You think of young players, E4, E5. That's no surprise. That's in fact what's recommended for young players to learn how to play open games and master the classical principles of chess.
No longer does it seem like that, but now you see Grunfeld's being played by,
but here he's playing very classically, but there's no Marshall Gambit. He's playing the Breyer, very positional system, and it's interesting because in some ways, a lot of coaches nowadays think it makes sense for young players to play good openings right from the beginning. That
coaches do that. Yeah.
They think that the idea of playing all these gambit openings and stuff like that are have a short shelf life or not the thing to do, that they should just play classical good quality chess, openings that they could play all their career and just play one after another and have them
very different from our day.
Yeah.
Did you do puzzles when you were a kid? When you were studying chess, did you do all these puzzles after puzzles?
No.
Neither did I. That was just not in the.
I would say that most of the main method of playing of most players of my generation was playing. And just playing better players and then analyzing. And I'd say that one thing that we did then that was very good that isn't done quite as much now is that we would go over the game with our opponent, but also times like our friends would be also going over the game. So like there might be like 3 or 4 or 5 people going over the game at the same time.
I have been totally recommending that to my students. Find a friend that you like to study chess with and get together and study chess together and bounce ideas off each other.
Right, of course nowadays, you know, we didn't have access to computers back in the dark ages, but I was very fortunate that I grew up in Tacoma and I played chess there and in Cincinnati, but then I went to the University of Washington and I would go to the Last Exit Cafe.
Right.
And
incredible place.
And the person that was that I really enjoyed going over my games with was Yasser Seirawan.
What a great player.
He he could point things out very quickly, and he would say things and those things would just stick in your mind. You were very actively engaged when he was going over the game.
A great chess player.
So here, if you look at this position that we've got on the board,
looks like black should play a5 here.
It does, because I think that you might think that black's got the c4 square for his knight, but I think that would be white would just move his dark square bishop, and then the knight would be very unstable. Pardon the pun on c4.
Right. The knight belongs back and it's stable.
Right. I think a5 in black's position is perfectly fine.
We get. I mean, these Lopez positions now. All these structures are so common to see now.
Right, but if you look at it after a5, black can be satisfied with his position. He doesn't have any bad minor pieces. His king side looks quite secure with the fianchettoed bishop, and it's nice to have that fianchetto because it keeps the knight on g3 from coming to f5. And white's not going to play c4, and he's not going to probably play d5 because he gives the c5.
And look, this young genius goes ahead and plays a5, just like the old geniuses were suggesting.
Yeah. So I think black's doing fine here. What other games do we have going on?
Well, let's look at board 2. This is another 2 players with perfect scores. Jacob Chiang, I think these are also young players. I think we're seeing, we can't see into the far corner of the room, and I'll ask Abel when we get back, but I think we're seeing like a bunch of really young kids on
Well, can we start with the opening for this one?
Let's go back.
Because this opening, right, okay, so right there, bishop b5, that
was one of my favorite moves.
In fact, Paul had great success with this. Nowadays, bishop b5, I would say, is almost as common as d4.
Well, they're making the point that d4 is just you don't play that on the third move against e4, e5. Why are you playing it against e4, c5?
Right, but I would say also that
it's got that Roy Lopez feel to it.
It does, and also it works better than if black had played d6 in the second move, because you have this positional threat sometimes of trading on c6 and giving black double pawns.
Yeah.
Now when Paul played the Rossolino back in the 70s, when he started out, it was popular, but nowhere near so the way it is today.
It's funny because there was another variation. I used to play the advanced variation against the Carol Khan all the time. And that was hardly played back in the 70s or 80s either.
So what comes around, goes around.
Yeah.
Okay, so castles is played. Or c3 was played. Okay, so here the thing with Rossolino is that there's actually room for different interpretations. You can capture on c6, and put the pawn on d3 and play bishop e3.
So many different ways of playing it.
Or in this case, white's trying to play for a center expansion with d2, d4, and being able to capture with.
I've even played h4 in this position for white, just after g6. Right. That kind of Spassky idea combined with bishop b5.
Well, Spassky, he played in a tournament game against Stein without bishop b5 and knight c6.
Right.
2 g6 and
h4. Yeah. Same kind of alpha zero-ish kind of thing.
So here, white castles, and now black plays knight f6. And now white played rook e1. and black castle, and white played d4. So it's also
This is all book.
right, it is. It's also possible to play d5,
To play
d5 immediately.
or for white to play e5 here.
Also true.
Right.
The idea behind playing d5 without trading on d4 is you want to try to deny capturing on d4 because then white gets c3 for his knight. But
Right.
it's a question of taste.
Yeah.
And now d5, and you can almost always think in most openings, whether it's after e4,
Looks
e5,
like you'd
or
say
it's a
black is
Sicilian-
probably close to equality
right.
here.
But whenever you give up the center with like c takes d4, you need to strike back in the middle. If black didn't play d5, white would have a preponderance of control over the center.
Mhm.
So d5 needs to be played, and that's what's played. And now here,
There is, I mean, even that's open to interpretation. A move like d6 or a6, or it looks like but it's still it's not
I would
good.
say,
But
yeah, it's a little bit better for white.
yeah,
Just because
this
you
is
have more
much more
space.
principled.
Right, and now we trade. So the idea is, if black trades on c3, white takes back on c3. So white has a backward pawn on the c file, but in compensation for that, white has this wedge on e5. So there's kingside attacking potential for white, and so here black plays bishop f5, and the idea is to maintain the knight on the e4 square, and white plays knight h4, and I'm not sure if that's the
Yeah,
right move or not.
I don't know
But
either.
what I do know is that if you, for example, if white played bishop d3 instead to try to force the issue, black would happily take on c3 and then take on d3.
And then play knight a5.
Right, and the exchange of those light squared bishops would be to black's advantage because white's light squared bishop was his good minor piece and his attacker, and black's was kind of like looking for possibilities. So knight h4, the idea is very clear. You want
Those of us who like the two bishops love that.
right, and he wants to take, he wants to dislodge black's control of the e4 square.
Yeah. I'm glad you got us into talking about chess, John. That's good. I was thinking we were going to talk about, something else.
Right.
There's maniacal laughter in the other room.
Right. So one idea here, black played bishop e6, but black could play bishop to d7, and that would set a trap.
Or knight takes c3 first and then bishop to d7.
Also quite possible. So in both cases, that drop back to d7. The idea is to try to exploit the fact that the bishop on b5 is loose. So think bishop d7, knight d5, and e6 wins it. It doesn't win a piece because it hits the knight on d5 and hits the knight on h4. But you could play
Knight f6.
knight f6 check, but it would be helpful for black.
Yeah.
So I think bishop d7 or trading first and playing bishop d7 seems very natural. But black played another move, which also seems possible, bishop e6, why not? And the point is, if you take on e4,
and then play rook d4.
and pawn takes, and then take on c6.
Because if rook e4, you could play rook e4.
You could also play rook e4. I guess black's idea is after knight e4, no you can't because e5, knight e5's coming. Oh no, the queen, knight on c3 is guarding the queen, so if
No, you've played knight takes
have,
e4.
yeah. So knight takes, pawn takes, rook takes, you can capture on e5 because of the pin on the d5,
Yeah,
right?
that
So-
would be good. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead in this position,
Or you could
try
to win a pawn by taking on e4 and then taking on c6 and taking on e4.
right. You could take on,
Be super greedy.
right. But I would think in that position, black.
He's going to be able to play c5. He's
Right.
going to have the two bishops and a leading
And the d5
development.
square, yeah, and the knight on h4 doesn't make a good
Yeah.
impression.
Okay.
So
We can leave
instead-
it at that.
So
This is the trappy move we were looking at.
right, and this is very typical. This sort of idea, it comes up in other openings like after e4, knight f6, knight c3, d5, e5, knight e4, knight e2, and all kinds.
But it's something tells me that black should be okay here. He's got a lead in development. All of his pieces are out. 92 has a
Right.
look of artificiality to it, and I think if black plays dynamically here, he should be
right.
He should
So
be
one
fine.
thing is, yeah, I would concur
I would
with your
think
assessment.
that I would assume that.
So
but I
the
could be
challenge
wrong.
for black here is
What to do?
also, you've got moves like queen to b6. You've got moves like f6.
Let's see how the player solved it.
Okay,
He
he played
just-
f6. So the idea is he's willing to sacrifice a piece. Or no, maybe after f3 he just wants to go knight g5. That's probably what it is.
That's interesting. Let's see. Let's just take a quick look and see if there's other solutions to Black's problems here.
Yeah, I mean, if you play queen b6, white's going to trade on c6. You take back with a pawn. He plays f3, and then you can play moves like bishop takes e5. But I don't think you're getting enough
I would agree.
compensation.
I
You're
would-
getting like 2 pawns. It's
I would
probably not
say you're
enough.
probably right. Yeah.
So that doesn't work, and
So a little bit of a quandary here for Black.
right, and you could play a move like h6, but f6 seems more to the point because you're trying to get that bishop on g7 into the game.
Okay.
So instead, white works around it. and
So if
goes-
f3, knight g5, I guess would be good for Black, even though, yeah, because now your knight's trapped if bishop g5, f takes g5.
Right, right.
That's a funny line, isn't it?
So he played knight f4, and now bishop f threatens g5, winning a piece.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so what did
Boy,
white
what a
play here?
funny
White take on
position.
f6.
White
He
took
took-
on c6.
Okay, and b takes c6, and then white. Okay, so this is really very principled play by both sides. I was thinking on e takes f6, taking with the bishop or taking with the pawn.
Yeah,
both
Black looks
playable.
good there.
Yeah, notice the knight is after you trade on f6 has a d6 square to go back to.
I mean, why trade on c6? Just play e6 first. I don't like trading off this bishop.
Well, I guess maybe he thought that with the bishop on e8, there's threats to play.
But
knight takes-
I want to put the bishop back on d3. I don't want to trade that bishop off. I don't think.
Well,
Anyway, f3 still.
maybe, although knight g5 seems all the
Right. Yeah.
Oh, of course, now you're right. The thing is, now the knight has d6 to go to, so that's not an issue.
I think Black looks good here.
I think so too, because
Yeah,
the
White's
problem for white is white would like to. All right, he went there.
he's trying to get the c5 square.
Maybe
But
he's going to play f3 and knight c5. But then the problem is what to do.
Ooh.
Oh, but g5 does not look right. It's going to allow knight f5.
that's a weird one.
Well, I guess he thinks he's going to force him to exchange there, but
But White should do
Whoa.
it. I think White should do it. This is a funny move too.
right.
Gee.
So the idea is, I guess he's got queen f3 to reinforce that control of f5. So white is playing for the tomb. His
The
idea.
tomb,
White
yeah.
is trying to end up in a position where black, well, all the pieces will come off the board, and now let's go queen f3. You got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Because that bishop on g7 is in prison. It looks like it's.
And the bishop on g6.
It looks like it's in.
I kind of like White's played a nice, interesting idea here.
I don't know, like Angola
I like
maybe,
this.
or where do you think that bishop?
If this is true, then maybe the g5
G5 is
suspicious.
extremely.
because
yeah,
it opens up knight f5.
right.
So actually, this position is maybe not so great for Black as you might think.
Yeah,
This is a
because the
nice.
bishop on e8 is also kind of hard
Yeah.
to activate in that position.
Okay.
Certainly, white has come up with some very creative play here,
I agree.
and now in for a penny, in for a pound. Trading on d6 would be very inconsistent and would allow the bishop on g6 to come into play big time. But the point here is, black would like to attack that f5 square one more time since white can't defend it. But how to do it? I don't see any way. I mean, the only piece that could really potentially do it would be the queen, but it's way, way away from doing it. And look at also, white's now got c5 for his knight.
Yeah, this is funny.
I see the move h4 coming very soon.
Yeah.
Student body right for white in this position. And he'll move his king and then he'll put his rook on the h file.
Black has made a mistake somewhere down
Right.
the line
What
here.
else is going on here?
Yeah, we're going to find out. Because on board 3, oops, we don't know what's happened on board 3.
Okay, well, let's see what board 4 is cooking. Well, we know what opening this came from. Just from the pawn structure, it's a queen's gambit declined, exchange variation, minority attack.
Well, there's the knight's gone from E2 to G3.
Yeah, well, what happens,
So it's a Queen's Gambit decline with Knight E2, huh?
well, it's an exchange variation,
Right.
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 So in this position,
Don't try Knight takes D5, folks back home.
he'll take it and play bishop b4 check and you'll be crying.
Right. It's the famous Cambridge Springs trap.
Right. Okay, so this is all theory. Now, knight f3 was also possible.
Right.
The idea of knight e2 is like a Botvinnik choice, and white doesn't commit his king yet. He could go short or long. And the idea is to basically leave the f pawn free for f3 and e4.
Okay. But
So-
he castles kingside.
Right, so that's still possible. But now the plan would be to play f3, rook a e1, knight g3, and e4. So playing knight g3 like this is a little unusual.
A little crude.
Yeah, because either you play for the center, or you play for b4, b5.
And
if
then
you're going
that,
to go for b4, b5, you want your knight on f3.
okay.
So in this position, the only point I could say behind knight g3 is that white is trying to stop black from playing knight e4. And by putting the knight on g3, we have one more piece. Okay, but he played g6.
Doesn't that make sense to prevent white trying knight f5 and gaining
It does.
2 bishops?
The other possibility was to play h6 and force the trade pretty much on f6. But
yeah, I'm sure that,
Right.
yeah.
Now the thing with g6 is that it's not applicable in this position because the knight's on g3. But another plan, if the knight were on f3, a plan for black would be to play knight e6 attacking the dark squared bishop,
Uh-huh.
and then later play knight g7 and bishop f5, getting rid of the bad bishop.
Okay.
But with the knight on g3, that probably doesn't make a lot of sense.
So what should black's plan
Well-
be then?
Well, the first decision for black is whether to throw in a5 or not. You know, because white's going to go b4, b5. So you could play a5 immediately, or you could meet b4 with a6, and after a4 and b5, it'd come to the same thing.
Right.
And so one rule of chess is like, you know, don't play on the side of the board where your opponent has more space.
Right.
But
Well,
another,
these positions are difficult to play for black,
right,
or for both sides actually.
right.
if you're-
But another idea.
What's white's plan here? F4, F5?
No, White's plan. Well,
Well, he's
that's
played rook
possible.
B1, and
Right,
so
so
he's
he
gonna...
wants to go b4, b5. So his idea is simple. He wants to trade on c6 and give black a backward c pawn. And if black meets b5 with c5, he'll get an isolated pawn after dc.
Right.
And if he meets b5 with c takes b5, again he'll get an isolated b pawn. So he played knight e6 and he traded. Now you take back with the bishop. Now he's going to go b4. Now if I were black in this position, I would play. See, if you play a move like b5 to stop the
White plays
attack-
A4.
Yes, and then you could play a6. But then the danger is,
That white plays rook
A5.
A1 or
or I would
A5.
play a5 because if you put the pawns on b5
And
and
then
d5, you're trying to put your black knight on c4. But the one problem
You
with
still
b5,
can get there via D6.
Yeah. but one problem with the b5 break is it might encourage white to try to play e4. So
Yeah.
b5, but another plan here is just to put the bishop, which is on f6, on d6, to point at white's king, and then play h4, h5, h4.
And take advantage of that knight on G.
Right,
That
and
silly
try-
looking
and
knight
try-
on G3.
you know, maybe
now.
push the black pawn all the way down to h3 to loosen things up on the light squares for white. So a6 is perfectly fine. Now I expect a4 for white.
And then putting the bishop on D6 and
Right,
playing
then
H3.
bishop e7.
But
then
you've got to
b5.
watch out for bishop takes G6 too. I'll
Yeah,
say-
although with a knight on g7, I don't think there should
Yeah.
be too much problem. So what else do we have?
Yeah. Let's just keep going. This, by the way, is Theo Biasis, is
Right.
white versus Patrick Liu.
Right,
So the
and Theo, I should say, is the son of chess aristocracy. His father, who's still with us, is Grandmaster Peter Biasis,
Right.
one of only a handful of people to play in both the U.S. and Canadian championships. He played in the interzonal, and
Right.
he's a friend of Bobby Fischer's, etc. And his wife, the late Ruth Herring, was a member of the U.S. Women's Olympiad team. She was USCF president.
And this is Peter,
Ruth.
Theo's mother.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you think of the herring biases, of which Theo's their son, you think of other great chess families like the Shahadis. It's having brothers is one combination, like the Byrne brothers or the Whitehead brothers, and then another one is like intergenerational, which is some ways harder, because you're going from one generation to another, and they might just not be interested in chess. Whereas brothers oftentimes like to do the same things, or sisters. But in the, I would say the Shahadis, the father being a FIDE master and the son being an international master and the daughter being a women's grandmaster.
And the author of a fantastic book.
Oh yeah, and that family's done a huge amount for chess.
Right.
With Greg with his U.S. Chess League and with his U.S. Chess League.
And his coaching, yeah.
Yeah.
Great coach.
Yeah. So Mike, reared some good young chess players that have gone on to do great things. But here, having said A, White has to play A4 here. There's really no logical follow-up otherwise. There is no other plan. I guess you could play for F4, F5, but it doesn't make a great impression. Possible though.
And knight A4, C5, I guess, is also.
Yeah, that's also perfect.
First, maybe.
Yeah. So there's things to think about for White.
Yeah. Okay. I remember Peter having a unique style for Peter Theo's father.
Oh, he used to be able to play King's Indian attack positions.
Game
Incredibly
after
well.
game after
Yeah,
game.
but he really mastered. The thing I think about Peter is that he made chess. He was like a little Capablanca in his way. And I remember, for example, once like he played a move like E4, E5, and there was a white bishop on G2 and there was a black bishop on G7. And he said, E5, what a great move. The bishop on G2 is working now, and the bishop on G7 just got shut out of play. And that's the way he looked. You'd think like a grandmaster would be calculating like 15 moves deep. And of course, he could calculate when he needed to, but he usually just played by like principles.
Schematic thinking,
yeah, and he was very good at that.
Oh, he was very good at that. Yeah.
If you want to
he
see
was very easy to play against, though,
Right.
as well, because of that style.
Yeah, well, you could make it messy for him. But if you look at what would happen when he would get a clear plan, look at his game with Timon from Vaikonze, I think like 81, and which was maybe like the best tournament of his life. It was won by Korchnoi and Sarawan, and I think Biasis was like +2 or +3 in the tournament. It was a really good result. But he beat Timon with White in like
I know
35
that.
moves.
I know
Very
that game.
clean game, very
Yeah.
clean. And Timon was, of course, a giant then. So here we've got a London, and I think we've got Cesar. No, this is not Cesar. This is
Another couple players that I don't know. Their ratings are White is a 1900 player, and Black is a 2100 player.
well, the challenge here is
Experts.
right. Play is kind of stodgy right now. The problem is there's not a lot of pawn breaks. White could try to play E4, I guess. Whereas Black, on the other hand, one thing for Black to think about in these positions is it would seem the advance B5, B4 is impossible, but it's something you should be giving thought to in some positions. For example, if we played B4 right now for Black and White took with the A pawn, after Rook A2, Black would be so happy. He'd be capturing the pawn on B2 right away, and he'd just be crushing White. The problem with B4 is C takes B4. And if we could somehow play C3 after that, that would be interesting too. But unfortunately right now, Rook takes C3 is possible.
Right.
So that's one option for Black. Another is to play Knight A4.
And go for the two bishops.
Right, and in that position, you could take with a pawn on A4.
So
to
White's
try to
messed
put the
this
rook on
opening
A6.
up.
Yeah,
White has really messed this opening up.
Right, I mean, Black is definitely the one with the choices
Unless
right now.
White can play F3.
But Rook E8 seems kind of slow. It looks like
Yeah.
the plan is to somehow try to play E5, And I'm not so sure I like that because I see white trading on e5 and then putting a knight on d4.
Unless black manages to play f6 and e5.
Right, that's something.
Mm.
But then even then, if you do that, where are you going after that? If you play e4 after that,
Well, you
you know-
gotta just kind of move up one little step
Right,
at a
right.
time.
but trading on
Yes.
d4, white will definitely be taken with the e pawn. So,
Right now, black seems to be holding a little bit more of the cards.
oh yes, yeah, definitely.
White's messed this opening up
Yeah.
for sure. Let's come back to that though, and go down to this is Cesar
Well, and it
Tamandon
finished
getting
already.
checkmated.
Right, so how did this
By,
happen to Cesar?
This is the top board in the 1600 to 1900 range. So the
Well, it looks like it's a
winner
miniature.
is, yeah, it's a miniature. Let's go back all the way back to the beginning. Cesar just got mated, huh?
Okay, so first off, what is this opening? With these two knights hopping around like this?
This is the two knights defense.
The two knights tango.
The two
And,
knights tango.
and some people back in the day called it the Mexican defense because Carlos Torre played around with it. But it became popular.
Hey, this is Abel Talamentes joining us back here.
Hey everyone.
But the tango became popular back in the
I'll try not to block anything.
early 1990s, and I would say that the guy that really put it out on the map in the United States was Georgi Orlov, international master from Seattle. He wrote a book on it. He wrote a pamphlet for Inside Chess, and then English publisher, he wrote a full-length book. And people like Aleksandr Malinsky and Joel Benjamin and Jeremy Silman all jumped on the bandwagon because, you know, here's a way to answer d4 that's aggressive, that doesn't require like a huge amount, at least at that time, of theoretical knowledge. The thing about it is it has transpositional possibilities. It can transpose sometimes into the Nimzo-Indian, and it can sometimes transfer into the Bogo-Indian, but it also has some positions that are unique to itself, and those typically occur when white goes like, tries to chase after the knights.
Which he did.
Right, and so the question here is, see, for example, if we played knight f3 instead of d5, and black played e6, and we played knight c3 after bishop b4, it's a Nimzo.
Or if black plays d5, it's a Chigorin.
Right, or Rogozin, or what have you.
Yeah.
And if white plays knight f3 and g3, and black plays e6 and bishop b4 check, it can transpose into a Bogo-Indian. But when you play,
I can see this even transposing into a King's Indian.
it can, yes. For example, if white plays something, for example, like if he plays
G3.
knight f3 and after e6 he plays a3
Yeah.
to stop the bishop moving to b4. Black might play d6 followed by g6 and bishop g7.
Oh, what am I doing? I'm trying to type over here.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I think I just messed it up.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it.
And
Did I just mess up the board? Let's see
yeah,
here.
just you go use the.
There we go.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so white in this position played d5,
Yes.
and the idea is to grab space and try to win time by attacking black's knights. Of course, the flip side of that is that, you know, space is only useful if you can control it, and if you're playing d5, maybe you're going to get overextended, and black's going to punch holes
It's
in
almost,
white's position.
almost
So,
like a
so,
Alkine
so
or something.
d5 is a very ambitious move, if you will. Now, of course, black's threatening potentially to capture on c4. So white played, we played queen c2, I guess, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Queen C2.
right. So he does that because he protects c4 and he wants to play e4 to finish. So now I imagine black played e6. So he went right back.
Wow.
Because you know why, I think, is instead of playing e6, black wants to play e5 in one go. You know, black needs to sort of, you know, he can't let just white take over the whole center.
It's just gonna keep
Right.
pushing.
So I'm thinking white plays e4 now, or knight c3.
Nice.
Now we're going to play e5.
That's
And
right.
so now the whole point is that we're gonna put our bishop on c5 with b4. We're not gonna get locked in by our pawn chain.
There it
And
is.
now we're gonna play maybe, here bishop b4 is playable, but I think bishop c5 is more ambitious.
So you think everything is fine
Well, I think
so far?
Very good for black, and I'll tell you why, because look at the black structure. He's gonna put a bishop on c5 and play d6, and then both bishops will be working. Whereas if you look at that bishop on f1, it looks like a big pawn.
Yeah.
And black also is, with the knights on f6 and g6, has a good chance of, accumulating a number of attacking pieces over on the king side.
If white's smart, he plays g3 here.
Yeah, that might be prudent.
I always
I also
like
need-
doing that against these knight
Right.
g6 moves.
And sometimes you
H3.
can play g3, and you can even play h4 to to try to
Yes,
keep the
yeah,
knight.
or both in
Right.
combination.
Okay, so this takes g4 from black's pieces, but on the other hand, you can imagine later on, especially if white's castled, knight h5 can be problematic, because if white's castled kingside, knight g3 is possible because of the bishop on c5 with a pin. Also with a knight on h5, we're trying to bring a knight over to the f4 square, and yes, white can trade off one knight, but then there'll be another one to replace it. So think of black's positions a lot like the old USC football team, student body right. We're just going to try to shift all the guys over to the left in this case, not the right. But
Well, what anybody listening to you and on Nick Talk and other strong players that we hear all the time, this kind of schematic thinking is the way to play chess. I mean, it's not in these, like discovering things move by move. It's like there's a whole story that needs to be told.
Right.
And
It's like you're writing chapter
Yeah.
1, thinking of chapter 7 and 8.
Exactly. You've got to look ahead.
Not that I
just
know how to
the
do that on the
moves.
chessboard myself, but so I hear.
Yeah, no. I've been telling students to tell stories, make their games tell a story, even if it's a story that lurches uncontrollably from one thing to another. You want to have a sense that you know what's happening in your own games. That there's a kind of a continuity there. And it's like, that's what weaker players lack. It's like, whoa, suddenly I don't know, and this
right.
is...
So a6 is a useful prophylactic move. The idea is to prevent the bishop from being subjected to a trade after knight a4. Okay, so the idea here is after knight a4, we're just going to put the bishop on a7.
Right.
Prophylactic.
Also, it was
And what-
useful to play a6 first because we didn't want to play a move like knight h5 until the king's committed.
H3 has been a serious weakening
Right.
move, and also white is playing very stereotypically instead of playing, in some kind of creative manner. He's just moving pieces.
Right. So
And
now
getting
one
slightly worse
now
position.
one thing that's interesting here is, did black play knight h5 now? No.
That's
so-
a good move too, though.
Okay. Right. Maybe he played that because after knight h5 he didn't want white to play bishop g5.
There's also knight takes e5, which I
Right.
guess could be met by knight g3.
Right. Well, except for the bishop's guarded on e2. I was thinking on knight h5, knight e5, we might be able to play knight e5, bishop h5, and then play queen h4 maybe.
Yeah, black's
Right,
got, or
we've
knight
got-
c4. You
Right,
got all kinds
we
of
got threats of bishop
possibilities.
h3 and queen g3
Yeah.
check.
Yeah.
But still, this is also a good move.
Yeah, it's got to be a
Now,
good
if I were
move.
white, I would be considering playing a move like knight e1 and knight d3.
And h6 isn't to prevent a piece to g5, it's more to prepare g5
I
yourself.
could, yeah, or
And when you
knight
s-
h7, knight g5.
When you say knight e1, knight d3 is sort of the idea
That's the move.
Well, the idea is of knight e1.
F4 in
well,
the future. or something?
No, the idea is that with knight e1 we stop knight h5. The bishop on e2 is defending.
Right.
And I don't go to d2 because I want to cover the f4 square. And also on d3 we're covering f4 and we're also attacking the bishop.
And
So,
maybe you
no,
can stifle the bishop
Right.
completely by playing c5.
Right. Later white, with a knight on d3, you want to go b4 and c5. That's what
Still
white's
black,
plays on the
black,
king side.
black,
This is way too slow.
black can put the bishop on d4 too. In that
Now we
position.
should go knight h5.
Doesn't
All right,
matter.
that
That's
was
a bit
really
silly.
neat. Yeah.
There's
Now-
some
now we should-
silliness.
Now we
going
should
on.
go rook b1. All right, that's reasonable, but Knight E1 was probably the best, and Rook B1. Okay, and again, I think Knight H5. I think tactically there's a way to make it work.
I agree.
All right, but Black wants to play F5. So think about this position.
So White's wasting another move
But
to
stopping
prevent
F5. Yeah.
All
So
right.
now what? Knight H4. Okay, he still wants to play F5.
Yeah.
And if you look at this
Knight
position,
H4 was a good move too, for sure.
if you look at this position, it seems like it's a king's
Everybody's been wasting moves.
Indian, it's a king's Indian pawn structure, but the bishop is on C5 instead of G7.
And White's got this really weakening H3 move in. It's sticking out more and more like a bad move.
Ooh!
Not enough pieces.
No,
over there.
if you were not castled, if your king was still on E1, this move would be make much more sense.
All right, so what
But in this position,
doesn't
now,
look right.
now did he go knight back to G6? Oh, H5, also good.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good move.
Yeah,
That just sort of.
yeah, because G5, bishop H3. So
So
White's got to
knight-
go knight H2.
Yeah.
And now let's play like knight G6 and try to get
Or
queen
take
H4. in.
first.
No,
Take first is fine, yeah. And now knight
Oh,
G6.
knight take with the knight. He should take. With
Oh
the
yeah, well,
pawn.
the pawn was at least.
Ugh,
Now the black
This
queen
is
is
just
coming to
lost.
H4.
Yeah.
this
This
is
is
lost.
getting, and also, yeah, this is ugly.
White should have tried to take with the
Notice
pawn.
when the queen comes to H4, you're not just threatening queen H3, you're also threatening queen G3 check too sometimes.
And yeah, with the bishop there on
This is
C5.
just
Yeah.
lost.
Yep.
And yeah.
Too much messing around by White.
So now,
F5. No. Queen H4.
yep,
There it is.
Yeah.
now you better, okay, he tries to defend there.
Defending G4, but now F5 comes with an
Incredible force.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't play.
Well, this is good
Alright.
too, because if he takes.
You might even be able to take with the G pawn.
Yeah, that's probably the idea.
Although queen takes also looks crushing because you got knight F4 coming.
Yeah. It's just loads of good moves for black.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, now let's go knight H5 and threaten queen G3 and threaten knight F4 check.
There it
Yeah,
is.
that's crushing.
Yeah.
In
We
fact,
finally could predict
we
the
can
move.
we can hear the bones snapping, from like 50 feet away.
Now there's a
Poor
metaphor for you.
Caesar is a very sweet guy, but
There was a fighter. What was his name? James Bone Crusher Smith. And
Yeah.
This is
Caesar-
Hanchi Bone Crusher Yao.
Yeah. Caesar, it was,
Yeah, I'm
it
afraid
was
the
nice
king
to know
the
you.
king is long live the king. The king is no more.
Look at
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
And now look at that bishop on C5. There was nowhere to run, and now it's just a checkmate in 2 moves. Yep.
Yeah.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Yeah. Bones, not Rice Krispies.
All right. Shall I take back over?
Yeah, I've got to make
Okay.
a quick
We didn't
call
see
here.
All right, John, say goodbye to everybody.
Thanks
before
for
you
having
leave.
me, Paul.
Yeah. Okay, but John, we'll see you later.
Now, to dial out, I just need to make a quick call. Do I
Oh,
dial
yeah.
out 9?
Yeah, I never call out like that. So. But
Okay, that
and-
was
and-
the
and-
incredible.
and Caesar was just here.
Saying he missed a
He
win.
missed a win.
That's baloney. That White missed a win in this
Well,
game?
I don't. I'll let you handle that.
Don't let anybody in the room.
I would say you argue with Paul about the. Where was it?
Well, positionally, let me show you. Oh God, I just got too much over here.
Caesar, I don't think so.
Hey, Holly.
I'll give you 1 minute to
Okay.
discuss it. Oh.
Come on in, man.
Okay, what time is it?
Okay. Oh
All
my
right,
gosh.
here's the loser.
Yeah, I got blasted.
To keep it down a little bit.
No, let's go back further.
Sure,
Yeah.
we can meet Union Square right on the.
She played well. I just misplayed the opening. If you go back a few tempi. So.
All right, you're saying
Knight A4.
No, 3:30 is fine.
After knight G6, knight A4.
okay,
on
so
the
Bishop, you
side
wasted some
facing-
time with
Oh,
Bishop.
wasted too much tempos. Yeah.
Knight A4 is a good, better move. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right, but on the.
I just gave her too many tempos
Okay.
and she punished me.
Yeah,
So that's
Yeah.
all. But
you yeah.
knight A.
Okay.
You
knight A4
wasted a lot of.
Yeah.
Black could play
Yeah, but I got B4.
Knight A4 is a lot better.
Sorry, John.
I got block. I got to send him to orbit. But
Knight A4 is a better
Okay,
move.
you guys, take care.
Take care, John. Good seeing you.
Okay.
All right, you guys.
Okay.
We gotta go.
Okay.
Okay, John.
Good luck next round. All right.
Knight A4, and then I'm
Knight
okay.
A4 was a better move.
Yeah, but she played well, so.
Okay. All right.
See you, Paul.
Okay. Chess is a tough game, everybody. And we're all doing the best we can. Come on back, Minus Game Studio, and I'll try to straighten everybody out here. All right. Let's go run back up to board one, where Jeffrey Wang is playing the National Elementary School champion, Henry Dang. And I like that bishop a6 move because that bishop was doing nothing on b7. We get a real positional fight here that, to me, it looks like black is doing well here. He'll have a5 coming in, possibly. He's fighting for c4 square. White's knights are kind of, white needs to do something over there. Maybe h4, h5. It's still a complex game, but I like the way black is playing this. And this game with this positional bind that black tries to break here. And this is black does this plan of trying to go over to the H file. Ooh, that's a very strong threat. Bishop takes d6. Black is in trouble here. There's no doubt about it. I'm not sure. So h4, g8, and white is thinking. I'm not sure about h4. But white needs to find a way to improve his position. So an attack on the king side seems like it should be a possibility, but this is complicated. All right. If I'm white, I would just put my king on the h file into safety, king h1, and then try to pressure the queen side with rook c1 and just make some moves and see what happens. I don't think black can't do anything on the king side. Anything he does over there is going to just make his position worse, I think. g4 would just trap the bishops forever. Well, I mean, maybe the black bishop could get out on h6 there. Yeah, this is a very tough position to read accurately. And this game never got recorded. And Theo Biasis has an advantage here. The black bishop at b7 is just awful. I'm not really sure why black didn't put the bishop on d7 and instead put it on b7, where it's even worse. So that's an odd choice. This is going to be a tough position though for white needs to create another weakness. Is sort of black has pushed back against the wall, but white needs to
Solid like defense.
Yeah, you need to make more happen than just sitting on a good position. Oh, sorry. Let's try to
Just
knock
a little,
everything
yeah.
over.
Just-
Black is definitely better here in this game. We've been talking about that. Boy, John was on a roll.
Yeah,
I mean,
sharp,
John
the
taught
wit,
me more
the-
about chess in
It's got the width
half an
going,
hour,
the
then I
analysis
learned.
going.
Yeah, it was like.
Well, I remember when we did the. Actually, I think it was the Donaldson last year online. He did commentary with us. Oh, he did an arena.
Oh,
Remember?
that's right. Very single-minded.
He did an arena, and he was chatting
And
while he was
wiping
playing,
out
and
everybody.
he was like killing everyone, and then he was he had the banter going.
Right. That was the arena was something that you and Judith invented, right, as a way to throw chess masters on
Like
a
you.
roasting fire and watch them squirm. Yeah.
And it was funny because like when you and Nick were doing it, it was sort of like
How can we get
it was
out
like
of this?
you, it's like you're over here like, oh, play like a fool, and but like John took it to a whole new level. I remember like we were standing back like, man, this guy's like in his element over here talking smack and killing everyone.
Right.
He's like the deadly the
Arena
silent
Crush
assassin.
was pretty good too.
Oh yeah.
But she wasn't online with us. We just watched her play.
Yes, actually,
Yeah.
she won every game.
She won every
and
game.
Actually, it was around this time last year because it was during our we had a membership drive for the end of the
Okay.
year, and she participated. It was a Giving Tuesday event. I think.
Right.
And she was great, and like I said, she killed everybody. So
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good players do their thing.
So, a little background on these players. So, tell us about Jeffrey Wang
So
and Henry Dang.
I mean, I know Jeffrey Wang's local Scholastic player. I mean, strong.
Right.
I mean, we have a lot of Scholastic players in this tournament.
It's
They're, like,
amazing.
Just look at the sheet. They're all like 18, 1900, 2000.
Yeah.
Henry Dang won the Northern California Rockefeller Championship, which is
Okay.
like a tournament of elementary school.
Oh, okay,
age
that's the
kids.
tournament.
So he won the Northern California. So he was the representative from Northern California. He went to the U.S. Open and played in the Rockefeller Championship of state champions, of
Right.
all the state champions,
Right.
and he won that
And
tournament.
he won that tournament. I don't want to meet him in a dark alley.
No, and,
somewhere.
like, he's like-
I've been watching him play. He's quite strong.
he's like 3 feet tall. He's like destroying everyone over there,
Right.
and he's
He
definitely
could win
gonna
this
be-
tournament.
he's-
He could win this tournament.
He's definitely someone to watch. I mean, he's got a. He's
He's-
got
by rank, he's one of the top players. Even
I think he might be like fourth highest.
So I'm going to pick him to win the tournament.
Yeah.
I am. I'm going to stick my neck out.
All right, man. You're putting it out there.
I'm
So
putting it out there.
Paul is calling it Henry Dang.
Henry Dang to win
take
the
it down.
tournament. Okay, and he's got some competition from F-Pawn, who's not
yeah.
on the DGT boards.
Right. And so he's playing. He took a half point by in the first round, so he's
Okay.
playing now.
Right.
Same with Theo. Theo's took a half point by in the first round, so they're looking to make it up. And we got another round at 5:30.
And who are these folks?
So Zuli Dai, I had not seen him before. He's been playing
Expert chess player.
last year, but yeah, he's been like rising like quick. He's like 2000 plus.
And how old is he?
I don't know. I mean, he looks like he's like a teenager.
Okay.
though.
And Jacob, we know him.
Also, yeah, he's actually Jacob Chang. When we had a couple of years ago, we had the Cal Chess, the Rapid and Blitz.
Uh-huh.
He won.
That's right.
I believe
God,
the
but you have a
Rapid-
good memory for this
He
stuff.
won the Rapid Championship.
That's why you're the director
the
of the
other-
Mechanics.
Because I have a memory for like events and players.
yeah, it's fantastic.
Not about chess
I
specifically.
can't. Yeah.
But
No.
yeah.
I mean, the names ring a bell, but that's about it for me. You know these players intimately.
And actually, yeah. So there's a ton of kids here that
There are.
we've seen. But one player I want to kind of like his rating. He's 1800, but he's really solid, and that's Gary Harris. And he's not on the DGT yet. He's playing on board 12. He's a friend of Theo Biasis, so they
Okay.
came together. But he played at TNM 6 months ago here when Theo was playing it. and he performed really well. I mean, he was having some like really.
So was it
good results.
online?
No, it was
No,
live.
it was here.
It was here live. So,
Okay.
so I know he's a really strong, solid player.
Is he your pick to win this tournament?
No, not to win, but I think he'll overperform his rating. So he's like 18 something, but I mean, I think he's 2,000 solid. But I think he can hang with anyone. So I'll be looking for him to disrupt the top. Because if Henry's going to win, there needs to be some disruption.
So we got 3 rounds today and 2 tomorrow.
2 tomorrow. Today's going to be a long one. We have a 5:30 start time for round 3. That is optimistic. So we'll see what happens. We had this amazing game in round 1. That was, I mean, that it would be worth looking at. It was Nathan Fong.
Again, another long game of Nathan Fong.
Oh my gosh! I mean,
he's a fighter.
Like the position was just insane. And let me see if I can
Yeah, here it is.
go to round 1. Nathan, against Sricharan Pulela. There it is.
There it is.
And it was a 3.
This is the final position.
That's the final position. Nathan is white, and he claimed a 3-fold repetition in this position. And I actually came to the office because I was going to look on the computer because this was on DGT board. And I was replaying the position, and John Donaldson was with me, and I said, can we take a look and confirm it? And so we did confirm it. They ended up agreeing to a draw before I got out there, but I said it was a 3-fold.
It looks to me like black is winning.
It looks like it, but Pulela had like 30 seconds on his clock. And I think...
Okay. Black must be winning this quite handily, I would imagine.
I think he just did not have the time to really sit and try to obviously, there's got 2 passed pawns over there.
So like rook b1 check and then queen c7. I think it doesn't look like it can't. I mean, there's a. So in this position,
like what
queen c7.
Queen
right.
c7.
Maybe.
Queen c7 and then a6.
And then queen. Oh, that's true. a6, huh?
And it's like you're looking at those 2 pawns, and you even though you got
white can't move, then maybe king f5. Gosh, I don't know.
And like I said, the overall thing is like he was at one point he was down under 10 seconds to make a move. And it is 30-second increment, but I mean it was scary for him in that moment.
Amazing.
And he pulled it out. And
Okay.
That draw. So, but yeah. Good games. Nathan likes to play, and he claimed to draw.
Games.
He claimed to draw last week
with Elliot. Yeah. But Elliot was right to play on. But Elliot's got some great fighting spirit. Wow.
Oh yeah. So all right.
Full point ahead and still fighting for the.
Yeah. And then you're right there telling him it's a draw. It's a theoretical draw.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, he's not going to give it away, which is a great thing because like you have to work for it. I mean, I was watching a couple of games out there where I could tell someone was like trying to, like, this is drawn and they're sitting at the table. Like, how can you play on?
You can't have that attitude.
And it's like,
of course they're going to play on.
If you're so confident in it, then you should just be sitting on your chair with confidence. This is a draw.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I mean, look at Carlson and Fischer. They played these positions out that were drawn, and the player lost them. So
But you smell weakness when someone does that. Right?
That's true too.
Like,
yeah, you're not getting away with anything by gun. No.
So
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go back out there. I'll be back in a little bit. Let you do some analysis.
I'll do my worst. I mean, my best. Yeah. This is a good strategy for white to do, is just to kind of hold tight here and sort of build up the pressure. And black is, you hope that black will lash out in mistake by playing, getting desperate somehow. I guess black can try to get some play by taking on h4 and trying to play bishop h6 and down the g file. So maybe start off with bishop h6. That's an interesting position. And again, white needs to get a little bit more out of this, I think. I'd still rather have the black bishop at d7, but and black is just sitting on a nice edge here. We'll see what happens with that. Black can play knight c4, intending knight e3, and that would be the end of any hope that white had for an attack over there. Also positionally, it's a good move, I think, to open the b file. Hey, Elliot. Oh, Elliot Winslow is here. You missed John Donaldson.
That's what I was afraid of.
Yeah. Well, have a seat, Elliot.
Must I?
No, you don't have to.
Oh, okay, I'll look at something.
Okay.
You gonna jump in?
Temporarily.
2.5 point price?
Oh, no, I thought you meant the commentary.
Yeah, why don't you jump in and
I'd
where
have to
have
come
you
back
been?
tomorrow, wouldn't I?
We were just talking about you.
Yeah.
You're lucky you missed it.
What were we talking about, Elliot? Well,
The fighting.
you have to scoot
Oh, to get in the camera?
somewhere.
You
Yeah.
have to move over so you're not in the middle.
That's
Or
true.
you can just move the camera.
No, I think you're further out. Maybe
There,
back
oh,
up
I
a
see.
little.
It's the leg.
It's back up a little bit or something.
You have your mask off.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll put it back on.
I could take mine off.
That's your call.
Okay, well.
Because we're colleagues
Anyway,
in the
I have-
office. John wanted me to keep it on, so I did.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Where's Ming when we really need him?
Let's try to. I think I'll back up a little bit.
There we go.
There you go.
I mean,
Yeah.
Oh,
This
wrong
is
hand here.
International Master Elliot Winslow. Not International Master John Donaldson. And
what is that? What it says somewhere?
yeah, we'll get able to take it off the thing. So what if? How are you?
Okay, I was gonna.
Are you playing any chess this weekend?
No, but I am. I'm gonna go buy the Bernal Heights thing and see what that's like.
You should.
Well,
You
not necessarily. I mean, with,
Oh, it's today.
with these things, maybe I should.
That's right. No,
Let's go into a bar and
I
hang
like
out.
that place.
Oh, you've been there?
It's not the bar, though.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's
Cafe.
a cafe
Yeah.
and in an interesting neighborhood, Bernal Heights
Yeah,
in
I've
San
always
Francisco.
been curious about that.
You should get up there. It's a little community all its own.
Another enclave.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Yeah, Progressive Grounds Coffee Shop in San Francisco has a little chess get together starting at 3.
Better known as now.
Yeah.
Literally
yeah.
2 to 3 minutes ago.
There's there was an old a couple of people there I hadn't seen in 30 years.
Really?
Well, there was one guy. His
Wow.
name's Manny, and
Well, man,
he
in San
plays
Francisco,
chess.
I know, passed away about 30 years ago.
yeah.
He's a backgammon player.
So you missed John Donaldson. He was here.
I was supposed to get something from him sooner or later.
He was on analyzing these
And
games.
selling his book.
No, he wasn't
Oh,
selling his
no,
book.
that's impressive. So what's happening in this position here? It's very.
To me, it
It's a
looked,
classic.
yeah.
Who were the players? Theo.
is white
and
versus
Patrick
Patrick
Liu. And
Liu.
Black has done well here, I think.
I don't know. Bishop on B7, or as
Yeah, well, the bishop could have been on D7, but
Okay,
he
you
put
know
it
that-
there deliberately.
guard both ones, and the rook. You know the story about Silman's book, How to Reassess Your Chess?
Mm-mm.
This is almost funny.
Mm-mm.
He's not here to defend himself, not that he would.
Right, okay.
So,
We're getting some dirt here on inside
various
chess.
chess stuff.
All right,
People
good.
have recently been bringing up, so many people in the classes bring up the chess in the Harry Potter movie. I know the guy that did that. It was Jeremy Silman, who also wrote a great book called How to Reassess Your Chess. There, it's an ad.
Okay.
And in the book, one of his concepts is tall pawns, he calls them. Better known
Tall
as,
pawns. I've never heard of
as
that.
bad bishops.
Oh, okay.
And now, yes, they can be tall. I mean, they are taller than pawns, but they're also...
I'm trying
Or-
to include you in the picture
okay,
here, but that's
there
okay.
you go.
Here you
You
go.
can also include... You can also, talk about a different dimension in which they're larger. Anyway, when your brother was ill in San Diego, and I was kind of acting as his liaison with the real world, and Jeremy, who was lives now, I guess, in Los Angeles, but actually is from San Diego, came down to see him and see us, and we basically had this quiet hospital floor. It was like nobody, and so anyway, I stepped out of the room at some point, just to different air, and I looked down the hall, and the wall is moving. It's coming towards me. It's sort of moving up and down.
Okay.
It's Jeremy. He's become wide, and I decided these should be called wide pawns, not tall pawns,
Okay.
in honor of their author.
All right.
Anyway, enough of that.
Wide pawns.
Yes, it looks pretty wide here. It doesn't really impress you by its scope.
Well, I mean, this position, I don't have much to say about it, except I think Black's done quite well.
Okay, let's think though.
Probably here.
What if white ever got in E4? How well would
Yeah,
it be
that's true.
That's going to be a problem.
That's actually a good point. But he's a long way.
Okay, he's preparing it. Not that far off of it. It doesn't have to be F3, E4. It could just be E4. In fact, he might even want to preface it with A5 at some point. Okay, but we're moving on to another game.
Yeah, let's move on. This
3,
is
6, 8.
Black is doing good here too.
Everybody's got all their pawns. What kind of game is this?
Another complicated queen pawn
And who's
game.
playing this game? Jeffrey Wang versus...
Henry Deng, who is a
Henry Deng.
national high school
Yes, I was there.
elementary champion.
Well, I wasn't there for that. Oh, really? I was there at the Tournament of Champions, which he won.
Yeah, that's
That's what you're talking
that's
about.
this. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd be scared to meet this kid and play him chess.
Well,
He looks pretty good.
If I was a high school, if I was another, would you say high school or elementary school?
He's elementary
kid.
school, yeah.
He's a youngster,
Oh yeah.
a tyke even.
And I'd pick him to win the tournament. He's
Really?
rated 2095.
Well, I saw on the quad he lost a round early and then ended up tying for first with only 2 out of 3.
Okay. Well, I just have I've been watching him play and I'm impressed.
He does have kind of this.
He's doing all right for
look
the
to
black
him.
side of a look. Yeah, he's got that look to him. Yeah. All right, this is board 2. This is a crazy, complicated.
A nice pawn on E6 from. But can you get anything else in the game?
Yeah, it's one of those too complicated. Let's
Is
move
white
on.
a material is even?
Yeah.
But there's still
I
questions to answer.
Yeah, like Black can try bishop h6, intending to take on h4 and play rook g4 maybe or
yeah.
something.
But
But
why
then
can
how
play
do
knight
you-
c5 to d7? Are you going to live with that knight? Because if your bishop takes d7, it's instantly a problem because
That's
your
a good-
h pawn hangs.
That's a good point.
In fact, your e pawn and your h pawn, everything,
Right.
your game falls.
All
apart.
right, I like
if
that.
he takes it, but what if he doesn't take it? That's
You mean what if he plays rook takes b4?
oh, I
instead?
forgot about that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
details,
so
details.
this
So
things to
something
get
first.
out of the way.
But the
yeah.
bishop doesn't have to be there, actually. Although it does like being there for the action on e7. But black will not take the knight if and when it gets to d7. You just have to live with it. But can you?
Oh no, this position is
Okay,
is
you
hurting
wanna
my
look at something
brain.
else.
It's hurting my brain.
So let us move.
What little
on.
brain I have left, it's hurting.
Moving on to who are these guys?
This is Theo Biasis
Oh, that
versus
again. We just saw
Patrick Liu, and this is.
Are the board numbers still arbitrary or weird?
No, I think these are right.
What's-
Okay, so black played knight a4,
What's
white
with all these
took
block
and he
pawns?
took
These block
with
pawns.
the pawn.
Oh, it's the classic queen takes b6 thing.
Ah.
Where with c4, then queen takes b6, but black couldn't get in b5, b4.
I think black made the wrong decision to play out to a4. Although you can try
probably.
rook b5 now. You can try.
You can't get there from here. You got a little work to do,
Yeah.
but you can make it happen. But then you can put. How do you
can
make it
put
happen
the
now?
bishop on b4 then.
How do you get there from here? I play
Probably
bishop
there's
b7
no
first.
way. Black is if black has an edge, it's microscopic. In the meantime, white can play for e4. I think maybe
It
we
is.
can-
It is surprising how annoying rook b5 is. If he can't get his bishop to b4, because that bishop on d3
Right.
shuts out every rook there is.
Yeah.
That's funny. White would have to get to work. Knight f1, rook ed1, rook d2. Phew, that was tough.
Okay. This is how Caesar
Caesar.
got mated.
Uh-oh.
I thought you might want to see the final position. Just,
Oh!
yeah.
Not even a king's Indian noticed the pawn on g7. What was this? Some kind of double king pawn?
It was d4, knight f6, c4, knight c6.
The what do they? The Knight's
Apparently
Tango.
Silman. Yeah, you knew the name of it, the Knight's
Yeah.
Tango.
It's not from Silman. It's from. Well, I don't know if he came up with the name or if he
We're
simply wrote a book on it.
talking about this.
Ta-da.
John seemed to know a bit about it.
Yeah, because the player that popularized it is from the Seattle area.
Right, some expert.
In fact, John probably at some point started talking about it and then decided he didn't want to talk about it because the person, not an expert, no, I think an international master who ran off with John's quote wife unquote.
Whoa, now that's some gossip. That's
Not actually ran off. I think they were always involved.
Wow,
And-
that's a.
What's the number of viewers just spiked
Yeah.
up?
Okay, now we're going from one viewer to two.
Oh my goodness! Wait, put it on Twitter. It'll show up to 3, maybe even 4. What does that say? TNM something set up. Oh, those are where the boards are. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, okay, so
You don't know that story?
I might have
Okay,
heard
but anyway,
it.
let's see how it went.
Well, it just
It went
it was
okay.
a brutal massacre with
Yeah, these are the positions you don't want to happen.
right.
You might even
And-
take. You should take it on e6
And
probably.
black messed around too here with this a5 unnecessary move.
Well, there's no reason not to.
And
let him get in
then he
b4 for
should
nothing.
white keeps messing around. Should play knight a4 and c5 probably, but just never
That one's
seems
true.
to get. And
Oh,
just
this is
horrible.
Oh,
It just got
the humanity! Oh, too many knights. Okay,
Yeah.
that was
anyway.
unfortunate. Who
that
was he
was-
playing?
He was playing
Han Chi Yao.
a woman playing Yao. Her name is
Han Chi Yao.
Han Chi Yao. Okay, so I don't know. Back up to Jeffrey Wang versus Henry Dang.
The Wang Dang match. What's going on here? They're pretending
I think
that
Black is doing quite well here.
maybe.
I would just play calmly, rook a b8 maybe.
Oh, yeah, I completely play. Bishop to c1 though.
Well, I mean, if Black plays knight takes e3, but
Yeah.
I agree.
He wants to
This
get
is
an
just-
f4 without the game going
Yeah.
horribly wrong, but it may have already.
I think White's just not gotten much here.
That knight is a thorn in his.
I
and
can
his
see
queen side.
Black playing rook b8, knight c5, knight b3,
Yeah, there's a lot of good moves for Black.
and meanwhile
Yeah.
White has to find something to do on the king
And
side.
f5
Maybe
can
he
happen.
can.
Maybe what actually happen in practice is Black will play a premature f5 and suddenly White will be winning.
Yeah, that
Just
would be-
guessing.
I don't know. This Black player is pretty savvy. So is the White player. Okay, so we're still
Check it,
waiting.
Who's White?
Shuli
Shuli?
Dai versus Jacob Shang.
All these are all kids.
So there's a lot of kids that are, and Theo just doesn't seem to have really gotten You defending?
No, he's defending b3. He's got to do that. You might want to play a5 at some point and fix the weakness on a6 and avoid any sudden, which may actually happen now. a5 could be
I
annoying.
think black is looking even a little better if white doesn't.
In fact,
play
what happens
E4.
on a5? If pawn takes a5, b4, and if a takes b5, a takes b4. It's a classic situation, and then so black sets up a passed pawn, rook a3, etc. Yeah, and the bishop comes alive.
I like that variation.
So what haven't we seen yet? Oh, long names. Sichuran Pulela, and that is, who's that? Tanmay
Qatar.
Khatar.
And
We saw this already.
yeah, well, these
Well,
are the games.
that's all the games we have.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So tell, is Michael playing? Is Mike Walter playing?
Not this weekend that I know of.
Because there's a tournament in Berkeley.
I know,
apparently.
it's kind of crazy. And the crazy thing is, Berkeley, where John's been directing, and then there was it's being directed by Stefan Tiem, who's leaving town.
Okay.
He's moving to North Carolina.
Is he?
Um,
Who is Stefan?
he's a German. He's played here.
Right. Yeah. I
Um,
think I know him.
It's pretty good. And he's been teaching a fair amount and doing well in the stock market and all that. But so he's leaving town, but he's directing, and Donaldson was here because his tournament's named after him, or for whatever reason it was that
Right.
he was here. And
He was here to see you, and you didn't show up.
I know.
No,
I tried to. This is the last weekend before Christmas. You know what that means.
I know.
Shop.
I
And
know.
shop till you drop. And unfortunately, they're all dropping on the streets that I was
Are
trying
you
to drive
shopping
on.
for? What's Santa getting you this weekend?
What's
I mean,
Santa?
there's- yeah.
Nothing that I know of.
Right. Well, yeah.
In fact, Mike asked Frank if he.
Mike Anderson.
No, Mike Walder asked Frank. No, the three of us share an apartment, and he asked him if he wanted a jacket that had a heater in it. You know, like a battery or-
gun, like a heater.
No, not that kind of heater. Or are you happy to see me? No, it's like a heating element.
Okay, that's interesting.
And I
So a flammable jacket is what you're saying.
I don't think it gets that hot. It has a will warm itself.
Right. Okay.
And I said, what he really needs is a jacket that has a thing that when their phone rings, it brings it out because he's constantly looking for his phone.
Who Frank is?
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
said, and Mike said, "Do you want one?" No, it's weird.
Yeah.
I don't even like this. Have you been in a car where the seat heats
No, I haven't.
like a fancy, expensive?
I haven't
Modern.
been. I can imagine it, but they're thinking of something
Yeah, they have these.
every minute.
They have these heating elements in there, and they get really hot, really annoyingly hot. You
The
think
hot
you're thinking,
seats.
my God, yes, it's a hot seat.
And you know
I'm
that
being
the-
cooked.
And you know that there'll be cars where you won't be able to turn that thing off in the summertime.
Well,
or something.
that's happened actually. Mike's
course.
previous vehicle had that very phenomenon. It was an old what's it called?
What a
Escalade.
what a world we're living in.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so funny. There's just
People can't believe the doors in my car don't lock with a button. Actually, have to lock them.
So you have an old car.
You get a little thing closing. You have to put a padlock. No. I'm joking. Yes. So what's going on here? Black is deep in thought. We're pretending to be. Look at that. They just passed the exact even mark.
Amazing.
When
Let's go down to board two. So what I need to think of something to write for the newsletter, for the 1000th newsletter, like an article. Got any ideas for me?
I don't know.
I was thinking of writing some chess column, like, in the year 2525 or something.
You haven't put your games in the chess space, have you?
Nah,
In fact, you don't even have your games.
I do. I
Really?
mean,
That's piles of score sheets somewhere?
yeah, oh yeah, and lots of them are. Oh yeah, I have all
And you-
my best games have been preserved.
Oh, I figured.
I've been
No, I'm
putting
talking
them
about all your
on,
worst games too. I was thinking.
Those games have found the garbage heap of history.
I bet they have. I was thinking you could show game 1000, assuming of course you played that many games.
I never played that many tournament
No,
games
I'm like
easily.
pushing 2000 in my database.
No,
I haven't even gotten.
I've never.
anywhere near.
I'm like Bobby Fischer and Karpov. You know, I became
yes.
really good playing very few chess games. You know, back in my day, we didn't need to play 5,000 games to become world champion.
I remember the line in.
Did you see that book? That
Yeah,
521
that was
games, the complete Karpov.
Yeah, not very
games,
many.
and he'd already become world champion when that book came out. And Fischer played like 700 serious games.
Well, thanks to John, he's played
Yeah.
an awful lot of not so serious games. but
Right.
He's found them. He keeps finding them. Who's that gigantically long name there in the chat?
Minus Game
in
Studios.
Minus Games Studio.
Yeah.
Studios.
They're stepping away. They hung out with us for a while,
Boy,
and
all those names are long.
yeah, that's what they do.
Let's keep rotating around. No,
Okay.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing new. It should make a noise.
Let's
when
look at
something new
this
happens.
game one more time.
Ah.
All right. This is okay. This game is still in progress.
You guys should pull when a board is done. You should pull it out from and stick
no,
it
this is
underneath
the
where someone else plays.
GGT.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It would be nice to be able to see more than one.
Oh,
board.
right.
It would also be nice if we could figure out why some of the boards are not working. So wait, Bishop H6. That was already there too. Oh no, it wasn't.
No.
Okay, that's a new move.
So Black wants
What
to
does it
take
do
on
for him?
H4 and play Rook G4, and then do something else.
But what can white? But
White.
the problem with that is then I have knight F4.
How about Bishop D2 here? That quarters clamp down
Oh, for
on
white?
that idea.
Well, G4 unclamps.
And then I go Queen
Or does it?
E2.
Yeah, maybe. And then I have bishops come off. I have knight F4 into who knows where.
Right. This
Nowhere
game is
particularly.
boggling my mind.
Yes,
Let's move
someone's
on.
going to figure it out. Hopefully, one of the players, and we can see.
Okay, I'll
Why is
remember
that one
not to
empty?
come to that board.
Why is there nothing there?
And this is Theo is kind of
Doesn't know what he's doing.
not much in the middle game. Yeah, it hasn't. He's floundered in this part of the game.
I think of that line in the Matrix sometimes, which we'll paraphrase is, "Why did you play that move?" He doesn't know.
He doesn't know, huh? Yeah. This is definitely part of Black's
H5 can hurt.
Well,
Well, actually could.
I would have
Two reasons.
There
Weak
was,
start squares and knight takes H5
there
at
was
some
maybe
point.
not reason to have played it right then.
Well,
Black could
no,
have
he
just
did- he
played
wanted to
rook
avoid-
B8
He wanted to avoid knight G4 to
or
E3,
queen
trade off the knight.
G4 maybe as well.
Although the other knight comes in then.
Maybe he wanted to avoid queen G4.
But the knight just moves
Knight
away.
H5 is probably not good yet.
At the moment,
So.
correct. But someday.
All right, I'm still enjoying Black's position.
There's still the question of rook F1 and something cards C3 and then F4. That's
I've
slightly
said I
more.
wouldn't come back to that board, and I did.
Well, what's this?
This is
Oh,
this
Oh,
is
this again.
this.
oh my God! You mean this was a Verisov? It was. Yes, it's a Verisov. There it is. Oh no, it's not. It's a
No,
Queen's
it's a
Gambit decline.
Queen's Gambit
I'm sorry.
with
Played very quickly.
knight E2.
Yeah, which is, I've done a bunch of times.
Right, and castles
Let me see
kingside.
another. That's a playable line. Yeah, this is
You
one of
can
my.
also castle queenside.
Yes, one of my earliest games. Last round of the U.S. Open in 1967.
Right.
I was in position to win the B prize, and I was, like 15. It's like what a boost this would have been, and I was playing, it being an Open. I was playing Ignace Zalias, 2000 player, and famous correspondence player, an old guy at the time compared to what I was, and. For years, I thought that I'd outplayed him in the opening, and that was only later that I blundered. But in fact, of course, the computer slapped that thought down. But still, it was an incredible game. I didn't play for Rook B1 and B4.
John had a lot to say about this. He thought that
Overrated.
that White's knight is usually better on F3 in this position.
Only because you can quickly get to through D2, B3 to C5. In fact,
And
it gets harassed.
we liked the idea of Black maybe playing bishop to E7, D6. And Biasis chose the third plan that we looked at here. I think the first plan was going something like F4, F5, and the second plan was A4, B5. The third plan was knight A4.
The problem with this situation, there's a Korchnoi game. I'm trying to think of who annotated it. It might have been even Yermolinsky.
Is knight C5 correct here, or is that a
Well, you
bad
got to go
move?
somewhere. Why not?
I don't know.
The question
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
how do you feel about trades of stuff? And White's mostly okay with it,
I would have played bishop to D7.
which made more sense to me. Although A4 you still have to deal with. But then you'd have angles with bishop E7 and possible C5 discovered attacks on whatever takes back on A4.
Bet two, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Queen E7 is odd, but it does attack
taps the pawn. He's got to
B4.
be
Yeah.
fine about it.
Okay. I think Black has just done
Well,
is
let's think.
fine here.
Did he play? Is it now Black's move?
Yeah.
H5.
Right.
Look at the game next to you.
Right. H5, but maybe
it's
not
no big
so
deal.
big. Yeah.
But
I mean,
let's think.
F5, F4 is
There's a famous game. I
the
think
Korchnoi
it was
game.
either Yermo or it was Soltis. One of these, guys who's written a bunch of pretty good positional type books. And he said he had just learned about the minority. The guy that was writing the book. I've just learned about the minority attack, and I really felt like I understood it. And there was this game with Korchnoi. I remember whether it was against Karpov or somebody else. And Korchnoi reached, a classic minority attack position, and then the pawn's still on B7. I'm sorry, it's a different story.
Okay, but
And then
anyway.
he suddenly plays, White's going to play B5 and give saddle Black with some pawn side weakness, some queen side weakness on them, and win the game positionally. And what does Korchnoi do? He plays A5
For
and
Black?
Yes, and he goes what? And then he plays E4, and he goes what? And then he wins. And the fact is, there's all kinds of ways for White to screw around here. And A5.
No, chess, you
not the
gotta
same.
you gotta think for yourself and play your own game.
Well,
And
I guess.
but you were talking about games.
Oh yes,
Books on strategy.
strategy.
This is a great book.
Oh no.
Have you ever seen this?
Not the book, but I've certainly seen Schuba's.
It's called Dynamic Chess Strategy by Suba. It's got some funny stories in it.
There.
I think it goes.
It'll show up in a minute. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, one way or the other.
Oh, I see. I have
But it's a cool book. I liked
it's a
it.
very colorful lettering.
Um,
Unfortunately, it doesn't.
and it's got some stories about of life in communist Romania that are pretty funny.
I wonder what the relationship between Schuba and Georgiou was.
There's talk of that because he goes back. As
Yeah.
you can see, he's a white-haired old
but-
man in there.
But
So he was.
Georgiou doesn't even fit back.
He there's one funny story where he walks into a club for the first time or something, and somebody says, "Here, we're going to see what kind of chess player you are," and they paired him with here's our worst player. Here, you play our worst player, and then we're going to see where you are as a chess player. And there's other funny stories in there too. So Black is playing for the rook to rook. This just doesn't seem like it. White's going to put the bishop on b4 and go, so what?
Yeah, you should have stopped that.
There's a great.
You didn't look far enough ahead.
It's a great square anyway.
But once he does that, if
Then
Black implements bishop e7,
Well, Black should.
and then what does White do? If White plays, if rook b6 is
then he
in,
just lets Black take on b4.
okay, well, either way you take back, then now Black has a lever
A lever.
of some sort.
In the meantime, White's played e4 and
Maybe. But e4 can, well, I don't know if it can be ignored or not.
I think
it's
that's
a
going to
problem.
be.
Yeah, the timing looks like it's going to be a factor in its favoring White.
Okay, White returns with the knight to f3,
Welcome
and I would rather see White's position with the bishop on c2 or something more.
Yeah, well, that would be the good old
But
days.
anyway,
It's one of the reasons I wasn't a big king pawn fan. E4 for you youngsters, which is, I've always been a big white square bishop fan.
right.
Admittedly, I'm willing to trade it off if things encourage me. But
Are you a closet bishop trader?
no, bishop. Hey, you want to trade a bishop? But the thing is, your pawn's on e4, and in so many variations of the Roy Lopez, you get pushed off the a2 to g8 diagonal. So your bishop's on c2 or b1 or something, or d3. and the pawn's on e4, and black's pawn is on e5. So then what? Well, look, I'll move.
Look at
Yes.
this.
Oh, look
This
at
is black is saying,
Whoa.
I'm going to open up the king's side so that you have a file to mate me on. Because
yeah, there's a little problem with with rook communication. Like
Yeah.
the bishop fixed on e8.
very
Oh my,
odd.
and the
I
knight
think
stopping
that's-
c5.
I think this is almost suicide.
This does not work. He shouldn't have played g4. I mentioned it, but
Don't
it
think
just
so.
didn't look like a good idea.
And white can play very leisurely here too. Maybe play f3. And black's got some tactics.
f3 I'd be a little concerned about, but not much.
Okay. All right.
That would just lose a pawn for black.
Yeah.
Actually, f3. Maybe that does lose a pawn. Maybe he has to calculate this out. Because f3, what do you do?
Well, and black's going to try something on the c7.
Okay, so he can.
But white
defend-
can play queen
he can-
f4.
Yeah, you can defend g3 twice. But unfortunately, that's not enough because white can play king g2, rook g1, king h3.
Yeah,
queen
I think
f4,
white
like you
should
mentioned.
pick.
Yeah,
well,
that pawn goes.
I think
On
white's
the other hand-
probably got several ways to win this.
Yeah, but the double left pawns aren't exactly a winning advantage.
Well, white breaks through on the g file, right?
That's more important.
With
yes.
something.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to.
Ooh, there's also.
Oh gosh, I keep saying I'm not going to look at that.
Well, wait,
I think black has nothing, white has nothing, and black is maybe,
he's dreaming of an attack,
yeah.
but I don't know what it's going to look like. Well, there it is, bishop b4.
And now black needs to say, I'm going to try to do something on that.
Oh, he played e5. Well, oh, I can't watch. Now does white e4 doesn't quite cut it. That loses a pawn, a big pawn, but
That might not be such a.
no. Look, he's mobilizing his a6 rook. You thought it was going to b6. Oh no, far
And
from
white,
it.
I want to put the white knight on d4, but there's no real.
There's no way to get there.
Well, you can play f takes and
Yeah, but f4.
f4, and then knight f3 and knight d, but that gives the black the e4 square.
It gives me bishop to b8 to a7 too. That could be annoying, but maybe not annoying enough.
Well,
Annoying enough. I could also double on the e file. Oh, yeah.
and black can break on the king side or something.
I don't know. I'm not sure that needs specifics need to be considered. So what's happening there? This is a very classic. Was that a Roy Lopez?
That was.
I got one opening right.
That was.
Was it the?
That was a Briar.
Ah, okay. This is okay. This is entertaining. Knight g3, g6, a4, bishop g7. Here, h6, back. Oh, and knight b6. Okay, I didn't know that was a move. But then I don't know anything anymore.
Now
Now there's a choice: a5 or b3 or
takes.
yeah, trading's kind of not so hotsy-totsy.
And black made a good decision here. We thought that black was fine here. John and I were watching this. We thought that was a good move.
Oh, and then trade the light square bishops off. Then we,
And that's what white acquiesced to that.
yeah.
Made a couple.
Okay, bishop b3.
I think black played some good, very pointed moves here, and that made sense. Whereas white floundered here.
Well,
Yeah, white floundered
Yeah,
here,
black-
I think,
black got two
and
squares.
now black is maybe at least equalized.
so it's a classic King's Indian structure, the four levers. Do any of them make sense?
Okay.
Not really. Although obviously white's not getting in c5 and f4 doesn't
And
work
after
so well.
g3, white just
Played rook g1. He said, I don't care. Queen d6. Uh-huh.
now white should not
Again, queen f4 looks like a
queen
most annoying
f4
move.
takes on f2. Then just you could play queen f2, I guess.
I could also take
Yeah.
on g8.
Yeah.
Queen takes f2 makes more sense. I think. Yeah. He has no entry.
I think this is black is in serious trouble. And if queen f4,
Not-
knight
yeah.
f4, rook g4,
The-
you can play f takes g3, defending everything.
Yeah, rook g4 is in the air. Why didn't he play
Maybe
it?
rook g.
There's f3 again.
There's that rf3 move. So we've kind of transposed. This is just winning for
I
white.
don't know. It must be with the bishop. What do the books say? That pawn on e6 cuts black's position in two. So bishop on e8 to cut position too. Actually, don't do it. Okay. I was afraid you'd click on the wrong one. Okay, bishop f8, a meaningless move.
I don't like looking at this game. This is still. Everything is gonna happen in the
The next 2 hours.
in the next 2 hours.
There's an increment here. It's a 30-second increment.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm even wondering whether there was enough time allowed for the rounds. Because it's 90-30, right? Or is it 60-30? Must be 90-30 because they played so many moves they wouldn't have so little time. They wouldn't have so much time. Am I hearing?
There's another round after this. No, she'll be here tomorrow.
Oh, then who's speaking in the other room?
I don't know. There's,
Sounds like her.
you know.
I detect that Hungarian accent.
You're right. It does. It does
Yeah,
sound like
I think
Judah.
it's her.
No, I don't think so.
Excuse me.
You give us a report.
Yes.
Come back.
Report.
Come back and tell us who's
Report. Bam. Oops, sorry. Not that kind of report.
International Elliot Master Elliot Winslow. So,
This must be not a chess related question. Was it?
what's that?
It can't be a chess related question.
No, he was thinking Judith was in the next room, but I assured him that she wasn't. But
She is
we
not.
did hear somebody that had a strong accent.
It wasn't. She is at a choir, daughter's choir.
Hey, French Rado. The French Rado. How are you, man? We are covering the John Donaldson, the third John Donaldson Championship. John Donaldson was a former director of, and by the way, his name is still up there. But it doesn't matter. I can I can alternately be
No.
John and myself.
No, you want it.
Elliot?
You want all to yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's fine. I know it's
John's not here, and we are
The ego-
erasing him from history.
the ego's kicking in.
We're erasing the guy from history. Actually, that's what we're doing.
There it is, gone, gone, just like that. That's how easy it
Gone
is.
but not forgotten. We're following this this tournament. There's 70 players out there. Another big turnout for the club. And behind me is Mechanics Institute director and
Hey,
Abel Talamentes. He's gonna
no,
give us the word.
no word. I mean, the tight games going on, and a thing that stuck out to me earlier. I saw Henry Deng play H5,
Yeah, nice move. We were looking at that
and
right here, H5.
yeah, and
That's restricting the queen and the knight's movement and gaining the possibility of like
yeah,
fork
just
putting a little
put some pressure on there.
a high level move. And we think that, you know, and black is playing a good game. We like the way black's playing this. I've picked Mr. Dang to win the tournament.
He's making you proud so far. Right?
So far, he's doing a
so
good
far,
job.
so good.
So, well, what's happening here? Black takes on d5 and then plays knight f6, and that d5 pawn looks vulnerable. Like, this could be a quick win for black.
We had an interesting situation out there in one of the games.
What happened?
Step out of the room and the guy plays c5.
Wait, tell us what happened.
So
Have a seat, Elliot.
it was John Chan's game,
Okay.
and
John Chan is one of our
mechanics
Irregulars.
irregulars. Yeah,
he's
irregulars.
mechanics irregular.
And something was going on at the table. And
Yes. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I think you see. For Elliot, yeah, Elliot's
Whatever.
erased from existence. So.
We'll put his elbow in.
there was like some commotion going on the table, so I go over there, and apparently it was John's move, and he touches the rook, and then makes an illegal move and takes off his opponent's rook. Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of chess playing
it-
that would.
Was it something takes rook, or was it just rook gone?
No, he basically moved the rook like a knight to take his opponent's rook. So the question
It's
is...
a season of good cheer.
I could see a bit of commotion ensuing.
Well, the question is...
Oh, does he have
It's
to move the rook?
touch move, right? Obviously, because he touched the rook.
He has to move.
But is
that
he
thing.
compelled to capture the rook?
No.
Because by illegal through, he can capture the rook with another piece.
I think that the rule
His
is.
opponent's rook.
I think the rule is just once.
Well, yeah.
One piece.
You can't
You can't
be penalized for touch move twice
No,
in
not
one move.
not twice. The question is what takes precedence.
The rook moving, I believe.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So that's.
But here's the question: what if he touches the rook and takes the knight illegally? But what if the rook is pinned and can't to the king and can't move at all?
Then he can't make it.
Then does he have to take the
Oh.
rook with the other piece?
Look at this.
No, then
Oh
then,
my
then you set the
God.
board up to the starting position and then you just start over again.
Oh, you do?
No, it sounds.
Now that, what time
That's
do you want to
actually
leave
a good,
tonight?
that's actually a good question from Elliot.
Yeah.
It must be that.
Okay.
I've grilled Goichberg on a million occasions.
Okay,
We used
so
to come up with these. We used to come up with these absurd scenarios. Hey Jim, hey Bill, what happens if a player puts mate on the board, but puts mate on the board, but his flag falls, but it turns out it isn't mate. And Goichberg goes, don't bother me. I'm trying to figure out the pairings.
Well, yeah. It's
Priest
not me.
was
It's
this-
not me. But no, but it was an interesting,
Great stuff.
and I at first you don't realize that was an illegal. It was like a night move. It was like.
Whoops.
But
it was so good.
And then John took the rook off the board. So it was the first rook that was touched, but it was kind of an odd one, right? Because normally it's a no-brainer. If he had touched the rook, you assume a legal move. So
Right.
yeah, he's compelled to capture it. But
So what happened?
wouldn't- So he had to move the original rook.
Uh-huh.
But obviously
legal move with it.
he couldn't he had to make
Right.
a legal move. But
Right.
he couldn't capture the other piece because there was no way to do it moving the rook.
What's in that boy's coffee?
It was interesting. Yeah, and it's like,
Sugar.
that's
I mean,
it's unusual. To
he's
see
only
John
been
do
playing
it.
chess for 50 years.
No, that's why it's
You know,
like.
he knows how the horsey moves.
I miss Verdaikin.
And I asked him,
How can you?
I go. Okay, so what happened? I asked both players individually what happened. So the other player, and you could tell he's telling the truth, right? He got, not only did he did he touch the rook, he took it off the board as a capture.
Hey, nice try.
And but
Which did he touch first? Maybe he picked the rook up, took it over
no,
the
no,
board,
no,
put his
he,
other
no,
rook
he touched the rook first.
Okay, that's important.
Yeah, right, that's important. But when I asked John what happened, he says he just moved the rook and that he never took the rook. But the other player, I could tell, like I know he's telling the truth. So I don't know what was going on or what's happening with John there. But
Yeah, just putting the rook back in its original square and having him make a legal move, that would not quite cut it because it looks off the board.
yeah,
That's like a park move.
I think he just got like
I think these are your score
he
sheets.
just got nervous.
I
or
wonder
something.
if any of our players has any hustling in the park experience.
Yeah, so this is what you would see in street chess, right? Where
Yeah.
all of a sudden, sleight of hand, the rook comes off. Right?
Returning the position, but
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
well, look,
interesting.
knight of
But
six.
anyway,
Good move.
What take
Knight
this?
f6, I think, because it
What's he up to? Well, here's the question.
he's going to take on d5 and then attack it again with the queen.
And the knight, the other knight even. Who
Yeah.
knows? There's always going to be.
I think Black has
I don't
played.
know.
Black has played a nice game.
Well, of course,
I
White
like
should be,
Knight f6.
White should be taking on c6
Yeah.
just to.
But even then,
Yeah, and the rook, the pawn on a4 is
where's
stuck.
White's got no play?
Well, he's trying to get play, the poor guy.
Well, I mean, let's let him try. We got the elementary school, the guy I picked.
Okay, what's happened here? Black gave up the pawn to activate.
Yeah, that was a neat move. I mean, it's better than. Look, here's the problem. The bishop still sucks. Excuse me.
Yes.
But the bishop still is
Still bad.
Is still pawnish, but
But he's got
connected
some
his rooks.
cheapo.
That's
Yeah,
the main
he's
thing.
connected his rooks and he's got some cheapo chances.
And on the other hand,
I
he's
don't
connected his
know
rooks,
if I-
but so what? No, White's crushing him. It's
I
ridiculous.
know, but why play A4?
Well,
if you
where
don't
does he go?
have to?
He has to go back to his
Well, he's good.
determined
Yeah,
C6.
but where was he on? What was he doing on that diagonal?
Well,
Nothing.
he'll be doing less on C6.
Yeah, but you've weakened your B3 pawn.
Not really. With the knight on C5, what are you going to do? Huh?
Well, you can always hope. You can always hope.
I believe in miracles.
But I think you're right. I mean, if this is looking.
But he does still have to get rid of the G pawn. That's going to take a little bit of exercise.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Black
You can just
cannot
play
muster.
King G2 and then try to win on
King
the
G2,
queen
King
side.
H3, double the rooks, and off it comes.
Yeah. Or you can try to win on the queen side.
Which is actually not so hard either.
King,
I would get rid of
just play King G2.
Oh, and then don't worry
and then
about the
don't
pawn.
worry about anything over there.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of room over there, so
think-
it's still up in the air. All right, but we definitely like white. And here's Theo Biasis
Noodling
and his
around.
opponent noodling.
Oh, notice that Black moved both his pieces off the F8, B4 diagonal, so who cares about the B pawn anymore? Nobody's attacking him. That's funny.
I don't know. I think
really
the
should be
players
playing A5,
the players
I
just don't know what they're doing,
There is that.
or don't know. White's trying to play Knight C5 now, and Black is letting him do it.
Uh-huh.
And I think,
Yeah, he came from
yeah,
went knight GE2 to G3 to F1.
and Black has done nothing. It's really Black has really messed this up.
Didn't even play H5.
Yeah. He put his
And
bishop
he's
on
fine.
this worthless G7 square.
Well, there's a move. Maybe he's going to try to play C5 since he saw the game next to him.
He's going to try to play bishop A8. Okay, I'm disappointed in Black's play there, and White is
White is still
thinking here.
He now has less time than the other guy.
Okay, and we're going to go back up to
Sure
this
enough.
game.
Where's Rose move? Total bummer.
Elliot, you and I have got to get together and play some guitar.
Oh, I have to remember how to. You know what I've forgotten how to do is
Do you play a steel
string
string?
it.
Do you play a steel string guitar at all? Like a acoustic? Could you play an acoustic steel string? Probably not.
for about 5 minutes,
Right.
and then the bleeding starts.
Right.
My soft little fingers. What time is it? Oh shoot! I have to watch for the clock because I only put an hour on the meter. What time is it? Actually.
It is
Eeks. Okay, I have like
3:47.
I have 5 minutes to get to my car.
All right. We'll see you later.
Okay. Looks like
Thanks.
fun.
Yeah,
You're in here tomorrow as well.
I am for a while. Yeah,
And-
around the same time. I'm leaving today
It's only two-
after this round.
Oh, you're not going to stay for round?
No,
Uh-huh.
for round 3.
And I managed to miss John again. Amazing.
Well,
Who's going to give me some games? A
okay.
lot of games.
From where?
Um,
Right, Mega.
yeah, but he created the archive and then gave me one of the 20 files that were archived instead of just the archive.
Okay.
He's not a computer guy. What can I say?
Right.
So what is White going to do next? Oh, there's nothing control. He
Oh,
can still play for it. Went off?
I probably ran out of power.
Eeks. But you're still on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you should plug it back in. Whose computer is it?
It's Abel. I'll get him when he comes back in.
Well, I'm going out. I'll mention
Yeah,
it.
tell him. All right.
Okay. Have fun.
See you. Bye, Elliot.
So long.
All right, folks. I'll solo alone again here at the Mechanics Institute
F4 is
Chess
like-
Club.
try to
Yeah,
figure out how to make it happen.
get Abel back in here if you can to fix that. We're in the second round of the John Donaldson Championship and the third annual John Donaldson Championship, and on board one, we are looking at board one where Jeffrey Wang is playing National Elementary School champion Henry Dang.
And-
Juice.
Add a juice.
I'll plug it here. Over
And,
There we go. Juice.
Black has forced matters over here on the king side, but he's on the verge of collapse, I think.
Yeah.
By playing g2 check, rook g2, queen g2, rook g8, queen h2, trading rooks and playing bishop e2, probably rook g1. Could be a little bit of an issue. Thank you, Abel. So queen h2, king h2, bishop e2, and then black wants to take on f3 and play rook g4. Could this be some kind of miracle comeback here? All right, so rook g1. Rook g1 is strong
And played, huh?
and played. Rook g1, king g1, bishop f3, and then black is going to be able to take on f5, but b4, yeah, bishop g4, b5, bishop f5, a5, followed by b6. That's completely lost. So black has no time to take the f5 pawn.
Take the F pawn. Speaking of F pawn, it's right up there.
Yeah, f pawn's out there, and
He's looking not to be taken. I'll tell you that. He does not want to be taken.
this is loss for black. I think black shouldn't even bother taking this f3 pawn, and should just hustle back over to the other side. But it's not. Nothing's going to help here. No, that won't help either. I think black's just lost. White makes pass pawn on the queen side, and it's all over.
There we go. You just got to be careful here.
Okay. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Do you want to sit
Yeah,
down
yeah,
for a
yeah.
second? I'm going to check out the.
I'll do my best to not provide analysis. Provide the opposite of analysis here. I don't know if viewers can hear it, but right behind me is the chess annex. And one of the fun things about tournaments like this is the players head over to the annex to play some blitz, go over games after, and it gets pretty lively. Often I'm having to go in there and tell them to keep it down a little bit, but that place is the annex is rocking right now. So and when we have these tournaments, like even for the non-tournament players, if you're looking to get some good blitz action or some pickup games, coming in between rounds at these tournaments is the time to do it, because in the annex these players are still hungry for chess, and they're ready to take on anyone. So this is round 2 of the 3rd annual John Donaldson Championship, and I'll just say welcome, even though most of the people I know have been following. We're gonna have 3 rounds today. We have another round at 5:30 p.m. so it's gonna be a late one here at the Mechanics Institute, but we love the turnout, we love the players, so we're gonna do it with a big smile on our face. And going to this game, Jeffrey Wang and Henry Deng. Queen F3 played by Jeffrey Wang. Nice little game. Let's check Theo Biasis. He is playing white here against Patrick Liu. And as we were saying earlier, there's a lot of like Northern California scholastic chess. Like there's so many good players. I mean, there's like a legion of like 17, 18, 1900 players, scholastic age here in Northern California, and they're building their skill to take the next step. And one of the things we were talking about, how I mean, this is a strong turnout. There's a lot of 2,000, 1,900 level players, 2,100. The high 22, 2,300 players have sort of opted to participate in FIDE hybrid events, which is why we're not seeing what we would usually see top players play, which demonstrates the need to do more norm events, because the kids are, you get to a point where you're like 2,200, 2,300, you're almost not even so much concerned about USCF rating anymore. I mean, you're solely focused on FIDE rating, and then not just FIDE rating. You're trying to get that norm opportunity, right? And we're seeing the players sort of gravitate towards that. They play the hybrid events, which are FIDE rated, although you can't get norms through a hybrid event, so they haven't allowed that. So, but
you can't get a norm.
You cannot earn norms through hybrid event, but you can get FIDE points. So it can be FIDE rated, you just can't have a norm event. That would open the door like big time if like you could do a hybrid event with norms. I mean, that would sort of revolutionize a lot of things, because one of the things about norm events is that in order to have a norm event, you have to have at least 3 players representing a foreign federation. And that's the hard part. So when someone organizes a norm tournament, you're actually scouring to find players that have a different flag, a country, right? So someone like Carla Heredia is like very valuable because she's Ecuador, right?
Right.
Someone like Ezra Chambers is very valuable because he's Burundi, right? And you need that in order to have a norm event. So when an organizer is trying to put together a norm event, the very first order of business is like, what foreign players are you gonna bring in? Because you need that. And then you have to have the right rating mix, because if the ratings are too low, then you basically have to go to perfect score in order to qualify for. So you have to have the balance, and it's not easily done, right? Just to give an example, you could have an international master for an IM norm event, but if his rating is like 2,100, 2,200, that actually sort of hurts the
Right.
event, because you need the rating. It has to be what the formula is based on, like a rating average, and then the number of points, right? The stronger the competition, the less number of points to qualify, right? So, but back to the other topic. So it seems like for the moment, a lot of these stronger players are like choosing to play these hybrid norm. What we need is to have live norm events in this area.
How is that going to happen? I'm off camera, but
Oh,
how is that going to happen?
well, I mean, we tried to make a case, Jimmy and I, to organize a norm event here at Mechanics. At the time we brought it up, the chess committee sort of put a primary interest on the development of our like scholastic programs, to put our energy and focus on that. I think we've demonstrated through the first part of this year that the scholastic programs are very much alive and well. So I think the attention's now going to turn to proposing it again, because I mean, you know, we have the venue for. Yeah, I mean, one of the hardest parts about doing this is where we live. There's so many players that have no problem doing whatever transportation to get up here, because what the players here are doing now is they're flying to Charlotte to participate in the norm tournaments.
Right.
These players would much rather
Be here.
be here, right, and do whatever it takes to be here, right?
Right.
So I think we could round up enough players. You know, lodging is not an issue because.
What about foreign players? Do we have foreign players living in the area?
Well, that's the challenge, right? Is finding a foreign player, or you know, finding
More
a way
than one.
for a foreign player to be able to participate, because you got to figure out where they're going to stay. We do have foreign players that are strong around here. Like I said, you know, the timing's right with a school like Ezra. You know,
Certain venues and people, I mean, mechanics is traditionally put on like boutique strong events, but not like churned out norm events, you know, 5 a year. That's not been the way the mechanics is traditionally done.
but it's not even
term.
sort of like as like a gimmick. It's like we're at a point where it's a community need.
That's probably true.
Because, like
Yeah.
I said, what's happening is these stronger players.
They're flying to Charlotte.
They're flying to Charlotte. They're flying to
And they're
Seattle.
local players.
And they're local. They're flying to Seattle. Or, you know, what's happening now is like players are playing a hybrid event as opposed to coming and playing live, because.
So we have the cooperation between or do we have like local what are these? So why would it just be on the mechanics? Why isn't it like a Bay Area? Why isn't it happening Bay Area like
No, that's a great
all
question.
over
the short
the
answer
area?
is the cost. I mean, it's more of a cost than people realize to organize a norm event, because a lot of times you're having to pay not just for lodging for some players, accommodations, because a norm event's going to happen over 4 or 5 days. So and you know, you can't have more than 2 rounds in a day, right? So if it's going to be like a 9-round thing, right? It's got to be 4 or 5 day event. For some players, you have to figure out lodging and accommodations. For some players, they'll want a stipend on top of any prize pool.
And the Bay Area is an expensive place to lodge people.
And it's an expensive place. Now, for a lot of people, you also have the trouble of a venue, right? I mean, this is where we have an advantage. We have a venue. The venue is not the issue. The issue is, you know, if you set the entry fee right for a norm event, right? I mean, and you know, usually people, you can charge like $500 as an entry fee right, for this. And then, you know, of that, 5 or 6 are going to pay that fee, and then the other 3 players, you know, they'll get like, you know, possibly a small stipend on, you know, on top of the, you know, the incentive of winning a prize. All that's up to the organizer, but it's tough. And then at the end of the day, I mean, you might even lose money when it's all said and done, right? So I think we can do it because we have a venue where we can at least break even. But you know, I think we got to do this. I mean, you know.
So it takes political will, as well as that not every event organizer needs to be like. I mean, is Charlotte? They own their own building or their own club. Why are they able to do that? Are they making money on these events, or what's going on?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I don't know sort of what their secret is. I know they're not a nonprofit. They can do whatever the heck they want.
Right.
So they have a lot of leverage like that. You have to be able to use the fact that you get these players for other things. So, So like when they organize like a norm, there's a lot of like strong players.
There'll be
events.
simuls and classes and workshops
Right.
and
Where-
other things based around.
Where like a player that'll come to a norm event could then do a simul for the club and make me a little bit extra or do something,
Mhm.
right? And you have to be a little bit creative with how you
Yeah.
structure all
Yeah,
that
that
stuff.
makes sense.
I know when Berkeley had their women's norm event,
Right.
I know that Jim Eade had to fund that. But they had a lot of players from like foreign countries participate, which is really cool to see. I mean, you had like so many different countries represented.
Right.
But it's a cost. He was really creative. He was telling me, I don't think he'd mind me like sharing, like he got basically a Airbnb, like a big one where everyone stayed.
Uh-huh.
And then
Have a
brought them
nice
up.
idea.
Like that, I thought
You have to be creative.
Brilliant idea, right?
Creative
because you
in your
get
thinking.
one big spot,
Where everybody can hang out and play chess together.
and then you go pick them up,
Right.
And bring them,
Yeah,
to
that
Berkeley
just
or
makes so much sense.
So like something like that. I mean, so
That's thinking outside the box.
you've got to figure stuff out. But I know these parents of like strong players are like itching for like an opportunity like that, and because we have the venue and because of who we are, right? I mean, we're like ripe to be able to do it. The kids going crazy over there in the annex playing blitz.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping we can do something like that soon. I also have a veiled interest even stronger now because I'll be taking the international organizer norm test soon. Like
Good luck.
tonight.
Wow.
I finished the seminar this week, so I'll be taking that. But I need to organize events. So,
Right.
But I'm hoping we can do that because that is so many parents from the chess community have been reaching out, wanting like norm events. We haven't been able to do it, but I think we should now. I think it's really a community need, like big time. And hopefully we do.
Well, I
because
think-
we want
I
to see
mean, I
these
think-
kids get norms. We want to see these kids get titles, right?
Right.
And-
Yeah. I think it's also like you're the director of the club and sort of set the template for what kind of events the club should have and what kind of your legacy, so to speak, as the director of the club. Like these are the things that were implemented and sort of.
And it's in response largely to what we think people want, right? And
Right.
like
yeah.
we know this is something that people need. I mean, they need it so bad that they're having
Flying to the East Coast
Yeah.
to do it when
we're here.
when we're here
and the players are here.
and the
right?
players
So-
are here. So it seems like an opportunity for
And we're not saying we're going to do this every weekend. We're just like, once or twice a year. It's totally doable. I mean, it can be done.
right.
So.
And there was this hybrid event that you were talking about. Sounds a lot like what we used to call futurities. Do you remember futurities?
Yeah.
Futurities were tournaments that were not where norms were not possible, but they were tournaments where there was some foreign players and players with FIDE ratings, so that people who were playing could get FIDE ratings.
Oh, okay.
And that was just so that they could get FIDE ratings, and there were strong players involved. So I played up in one in what they were called futurities. I played up in one in Seattle once, and so it was
I haven't heard
so
that
that
name. Should call it that.
local players could get. John played in that one too.
Yeah.
So it was like the Seattle futurity. Nobody could get a norm because there weren't any. There was like maybe one title player or something like that, but there were enough FIDE players and enough foreign players. Was it foreign players or just FIDE rating?
Probably just
I
FIDE.
think it's just FIDE rating. Yeah.
But now, like where we live, like
There's lots of.
but you have the arbiter. But see, this is another thing. It's like you have the arbiters. I mean, you have Judith and I, and there are a couple other arbiters in the area. Not a lot actually. There's not a lot of FIDE arbiters out there. But in Southern California, my God, I mean, they have like one or two arbiters only. So like even over
And
there,
they have nothing going on there either.
so like even those players, if you're from there, like you really got to go out of your way. You have to play like one of the big SoCal events, right, to even get a FIDE rating. That's
Right.
like a once or twice a year. Oh
Well-
wow! Look
well-
at that, Chess Dojo. Chess Dojo is rating us. 87 viewers.
Wow, thanks, Chess Dojo.
Thank you
Yeah, we're
to
here.
the Chess Dojo for supporting Dojo. Messing that up there. You are watching the 3rd annual John Donaldson Championship, and
We got some
there we go.
local greats playing here.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for
Thank-
joining us. Hope you stick around.
Yeah, this is the 3rd annual John Donaldson Championship at the Mechanics Institute live. You actually getting a window to mechanics right up there. Thank you to Kostya Kavutsky and David Pruess and the gang, Jesse Cry from Chess Dojo.
Chess Dojo.
So thank you for the raid, and here we are.
Yeah. We have the elementary school champion,
I'll let you take that.
Henry Dang here, playing on our board 1. This is round 2. And I'm FIDE Master Paul Whitehead, and we're just checking out some games here. Abel and I were talking about chess in the Bay Area and the need for some norm tournaments. So anybody have any ideas about getting some norm tournaments? Right now, local players are flying out to Charlotte, and we want to keep them here.
Yeah, I missed a good conversation. We were talking about norms, and yeah, I mean it's sort of like it's definitely a community need to do like a norm event, and just like we were talking about the futurities tournaments, it's so people can get a FIDE rating. It's like, you know, the kids want titles. I mean, look at all the 2000 level kids that are here.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the next step is to, as they cross 2200, you gotta try to start earning the title. Even if they don't get the title in the first, you get that experience. I mean, look at Rui. We gave her, since we organized the U.S. Cadet Online 2020, we gave her the organizer's wild card so you could
Right.
participate.
Right.
And she had a rough one because she played some strong games against
And got
2300,
some
2400.
good experience.
And then what does she do later on? She plays the U.S. Junior Girls, places second.
Right.
And it's like, this is the kind of experience that people need to get exposed to, these norm events where you're playing strong players.
Right.
And, you know, we have to provide that. So hoping that we get a chance to do that because we want to do it. So maybe this will be the year, 2022, coming up.
If not, surely the year after.
Yeah,
No, we'll get
close.
we like to think big here, and we have got a million things that we want to do.
Yeah, it's never not enough. I'll let you get back to the
No,
chess. I
that's
gotta get back out there.
I think that White should be able to engineer a win here with putting the knight on f4,
The night hopping around.
with a possibility of making a pass pawn on the queen side as well. There should be some way to make it happen.
Some tomfoolery.
Some tomfoolery to make it happen. This is on our board 2. On board 3 here, and above me you can see the playing hall there. We have the son of Peter Biasis, Grandmaster Peter Biasis, Theo Biasis, on board 3 here versus Patrick Liu, and White's been exerting steady pressure here, but hasn't been able to sort of find a way in yet, and there's been a lot of sort of mutual maneuvering around. Finally, on this board, this game is Black has really not been able to show anything yet. Although I think I would rather be Black here with the 2 bishops and still some possibilities to make a mess somewhere, maybe probably on the king side, but it's got a ways to go. Preva Deuce. Coming out of this club here was, we would like to take full credit for this young genius. Hans Niemann was here, and he's now in the top 100 in the world. And the number 2 junior, or he's in the top 10 juniors in the world, I think, and has entered the top 100 just, his FIDE rating's over 2650 now. So, yeah, we want to get some players. We want to give our players some opportunities here, local players. Henry Dang is the, I guess, the national elementary school champion, or won the champion of champions. And he is, I'm picking him to win this tournament, even though he's got players like F-Pawn and adults. He's making a strong impression on me, this kid. Black is playing cautiously but very strongly here. And White, I think, is winning this, but has a little bit of a ways to go here. The pawn at F5 is kind of. There should be a way for White to win this, I think. Ultimately. Are Cali players underrated or overrated? Oh, we're all underrated. I think we just need some opportunities to get that are local to get to progress more, for our younger players to progress more. I don't know if we're overrated or underrated compared to the rest of the country. The pandemic has really thrown a loop into the ratings in a way. I mean, with players that are still catching up and are vastly underrated, I think. That's for sure. This game is still in progress. H5, H4 for Black, trying to mess up the king side a little bit. White has been unable to sort of prove anything. I think White should have left the knight at C5, played rook A1, and A takes B5. That would have been what I would be thinking about here. And Black's bishops are like annoying little wasps coming into the position here, but this could be drawn. But I still would rather have Black here. This game right here ended in a checkmate. We played a 900 player from Cali and online and lost. Yeah, well, these online, that's another thing. There's online ratings as well, which kind of really throw everything for a loop. My thing, I would say USCF ratings are more accurate. I mean, chess.com it's hard to figure out exactly where they are in relation to regular USCF ratings, but everybody seems like they're playing the openings better now, and the level of strength you're going to find in your opponent's going to sort of come out in the middle game more than in the openings. Yeah, white USCF. USCF is probably more or at least it's more official. I mean, chess.com is worked its way into the mainstream, but still it's a private company, right? With a private rating system, sort of I would call it almost. Let's see, board 2. You gotta like white here with the outside passed H pawn. But this could be tough to break through here. Black. If white plays knight g6 and black plays king e8, then h5. So maybe this is just a clear-cut win now. Last chance looks like bishop a2, h5, bishop b1 maybe. King c1. Does king c1 actually sort of take the bishop out? Oh, here, right away. King e8, h5, bishop b1, h6, bishop f5. So, okay, so bishop e1, knight h4, the king goes back. Oh, white is messing this. Oh, okay. My bad. White was ahead there. No, an 1800 USCF is still not going to be playing like a master in some other part of the country. I don't think. But that's a stretch. Yeah. Why would everybody in California be overrated? It just doesn't make any sense. We're playing with the same rating system that everybody else is. I think, if you're going to talk about regional differences, you would probably talk about different countries. I remember Canadian players were rated somewhere about 50 to 75 points below American players, and that when I went up there, I remember going up there and being astounded by how strong everybody was compared to their ratings. So I think internationally you're going to find more differences with ratings rather than the United States regionally, I think.
Yep.
That's just my opinion. And I'm sticking to it. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to make.
I
walk in. Oh, that's my opinion.
I got silly opinions. Yeah. But we were talking about.
What did you
We
do?
were talking about ratings. So somebody was saying that regional, like an 1800 player on the East Coast, was like a master in California.
Master in California.
I would say that's not true. But internationally, you find more, like, Canadian players used to be underrated. Americans used to go up to Canada and be like, wow, this 1900 player is actually playing like a strong expert,
right,
or something like that. Or it seemed like that.
It's funny because like here in the local area, when you see one of these kids that's like 1600,
it's the pandemic.
You sort of imagine they're actually like 1800 strength, right?
Yeah.
But
and the pandemic screwed everything.
But yeah, on the East Coast, like wonder what the typical 1600 if they come here. Like,
I think it'd be I was saying it would seem to be the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so statistical analysis.
And does the statistical analysis factor age? So like as you get older, then the minus starts kicking in.
Established USCF rating than the classical rating online is 300 to 400 points higher. Yeah, well, I mean, maybe the possibility of manipulating who you play and.
Well, I mean, now that live chess is back, I mean, people are far more wanting to play live.
Yeah, and I think the online rating, like I said, I mean, part of it is like the USCF should be seen as a standard. We've got a private company, chess.com, that's got their own private ratings.
Right.
That just doesn't seem like we should be paying that much attention to it. I think,
Right.
and rather we
I know.
should go
I don't.
with.
I mean,
Yeah.
when people like, oh, my chess.com, like already like.
Yeah, when somebody says my chess.com rating is this, I'm like, well, let's get down to the serious, USCF. There's got to be some standard that we're sticking to.
Now this doesn't count people that are like new, right? Because there are a lot of people that are new. They play in chess.com,
Yeah,
and they're not.
They
aware.
don't know. They don't know.
But
anyway.
to sort of tout your chess.com rating as somehow representative, like a USCF, like clearly that's not.
Yeah, and the USCF, do they have their own online rating system starting? Yeah, or are they starting to get that going?
No, it's
Yeah.
it's been going on. Like
Okay.
recognized, but even the distinction is different. There's
Right.
USCF online rating that's different from your USCF over the board, and you
Right.
can't earn any titles through the online system. Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, if they don't really play USCF tournaments or don't have that interest and they talk about their chess.com, I mean, completely fine, right? Because
Yeah.
that's all they want to do. It's more recreational than competitive.
You're just talking oranges and I'm talking apples,
Right,
and that's
yeah.
just the way it is. I mean,
Some people prefer pairs and other people prefer quints.
yeah.
I just wonder if that's a fruit of some sort.
Right. Oh, there's people like I play guitar better than Jimi Hendrix, but they never play in front of anybody, and they're just always playing in their garage.
Air guitar.
I'm the best air guitar player in the world. So we're saying, we like to keep. I guess what we're saying is that, there's some kind of official standard thing. It is the USCF and FIDE, I suppose, even more so. In fact, we were talking about rules that FIDE has and the USCF does, if you're playing with a king and a knight versus a king and a rook, and your flag falls. I think the USCF says something like there's insufficient mating material if you have the knight, whereas the FIDE rule says, well, if you have the knight, you can still mate the king. The other side's king, because they have a rook and you could get trapped there. And actually, that seems to be correct in my opinion. So even with USCF and FIDE, there's these differences, and you have to sort of, take the higher law at some point as the gold standard, I think. And of course, there's if you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do, and so. And that's what American players found out when they went to Canada, that suddenly the standard of play seemed to be a little higher in terms of the rating, and that was back in the old days, I suppose. Things might be different now, but let's take a look at Theo Biasis versus Patrick Liu. And White's still building up. This game has been quite tense for a long time. Yeah. Looking better and better for White, though, I think. Black should have been trying h5, h4. You can't let yourself just get squeezed to death. In this game, still gotta be better for Black in some respects with the two bishops. If Black can make a pass pawn somewhere, but
again, with the principle of two weaknesses, we have that thing going on here with both this game and this game, where the stronger player has yet to sort of make that necessarily next step of giving their opponent a second weakness. And so I would still say the games are leaning towards draws or equal results. Black is making steady progress in this game. Obviously down the b file, the a4 pawn is hanging now, and white is sort of holding on. This game was resigned, so we're just down to a few games here. These two games. This sort of end game here with 4 minor pieces, 2 bishops versus bishop and knight, and this game where black is sort of steadily outplaying white, but has yet to sort of land a hammer blow. Knight takes a4. The knight can't move without the pawn being lost at a5, so it's temporary. It's good now, but what? Okay, so let's see. Knight e3. If knight e3, black could maybe play knight takes c3. Excuse me. Knight e3, knight takes c3, and if knight d5, knight fd5, ed5, and it looks like the queen, if the queen takes on d5, rook takes c3. Can white play knight e3 here? He does it. Okay, so let's see. Knight takes c3, knight to d5. I'm not even going to look at knight to d1 yet. Actually, knight to d1 might be the simple move after knight takes c3. This is the second round of the Donaldson, the third annual Donaldson Championship. We are live streaming from downtown San Francisco, the oldest chess club in the United States, but not the oldest commentators. I think we'll probably have some. I wonder who is the oldest commentator that you've seen doing chess? You see?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's probably you.
No, wait. No, it would be Nick DeFermian.
Nick DeFermian, yeah.
Maybe Nick. Huh.
He's young at heart, though.
Young at heart, 3-time U.S. champion. He's usually on here. Yeah, it's like a young person's game, isn't it? The chess commentary.
It is, and that's not negative. It's just, it actually takes a lot to,
It takes a lot of character and nerve and,
everything we lack, basically.
And here I am. What am I doing? Yeah. No, but it's an interesting question, actually. Is knight e3 could be a powerful move here. With knight g5 coming up, I'm not sure what black is going to do. Knight b6, maybe? And then,
Josiah Stearman's in the chat.
hey...
You should still be playing.
So I'm going to get back in there, and actually, we're having the 50th anniversary of the Tuesday Night Marathon. You should come out and play in that, Josiah. We're thinking of different formats and stuff like that.
No, but the one main format is Nick said he'd play, you'd play, I'll play. I'm sure I can get John to play.
We're talking about a tournament with Nick DeFermian, John Donaldson, me. That's nothing, but I mean some really good players to come out and play in this 50th anniversary.
It'll be the summer. It's more in the summer.
The Ray Conway Memorial.
Tuesday night marathon 50th anniversary edition.
Right, with a boost in the prize fund from some benefactor.
Hey, since this is like a big deal, we should make it one open section.
Yeah,
52 rounds starting January 4th.
52 rounds.
52 rounds.
No, that's a marathon.
Yeah, that's a marathon.
Yeah. Rook 8 B7. Yeah. What about knight B6? Oh, he played rook 3 to B7. He's trying to hold on to his ill-gotten gains. Thanks, Josiah. I try to be, young at heart. So knight d5, black can chop it off and play queen defending the pawn at a5, I suppose. Black's a good player. The elementary school champion. Josiah, did you ever get a chance to play Hans Niemann? When I can't remember if you two coincided over the board and played each other at all. Oh, you have a 3.5 to 2.5 record against him? Awesome. That is so awesome. Yeah, you should deeply annotate those games for, publish them in Chess Life. He's now in the top 100. It's incredible. All right, let's move on to board 2. Oh, this was a white one of that. Theo Biasis and Patrick Liu. The players have just been kind of moving around, moving them out, moving them in, moving them out. Nobody's left a strong impression yet in this game. And this game, again, if black can somehow make a pass pawn on the king side, but that probably can't happen by force. I'm trying to think of a way for black in here. Bishop e1 takes d2, then bishop f1. I have a feeling this is a draw or very close to it. White plays just a simple c4. Yeah, the rook was better placed at b3, and the other rook maybe was better to go to b7. And then the knight at e3 would at least be pinned for a minute. Now the pawn, white wants to recover the pawn at a5, and so knight c5 maybe? And then knight to d5, I would imagine. This is a tough little position here. Not easy. It could be that black no longer has an advantage. knight d5, knight d5, cd5, and the pawn at a5 is going. It looks like black can play queen e8, queen a8, rook. I guess, and then if you take on a5, there's knight b3. So maybe black is holding on to his pawn here. Biasis Lou, again, this game, it's not easy, but white should put his rooks on the A file probably, and black has just been content to hold and not do anything else. Oh, and now black has the passed H pawn. I'm starting to tilt this position a little bit more into black's favor for sure now. White might have to play this a little bit more accurately to draw now. The potential of a black pass pawn now is making this a little bit better for black. So, if something takes on a5, then knight b3. And knight d5, threatening the knight at f6, can be met by knight takes d5 and queen e8. And then you still can't take on a5 because of a knight going into b3. And white's gonna maybe find it hard to regain the pawn. If black can push through with a4 and hold on to that pawn, it's going to be a little bit of an uphill struggle for white. This game, I keep going back to that. All right, okay, here we have this. There was this game too. Not good for white, who got mated practically out of the opening. And on board, that was, yeah, those games are done. So we're dealing with this game and this game. This game's starting to get a little bit more interesting here. I guess bishop to d8, and if knight to e5, bishop to b1, or bishop to c2. And then, is black ready for pawn to h5? Okay. Okay, so this king d6 to look at too. Here, I'm not looking at everything very clearly here. The bishop's hanging at d6. All right, well, this potential for a passed h-pawn is still what's making this position interesting for black. White's still thinking here. We're starting to get into a mild time trouble here. We do have a 30-second increment, so it's quite slow paced. White takes on and if I'm black, I guess I think I would say, okay, the c6 weakness is defendable. If I take the other way, I've got a weakness on d5 and a6. If I take on b5 with the a pawn, then I've only got the c6. Well, you know, to be consistent, black needs to take with the a pawn, I think. So white plays bishop e5 or bishop f8, and black is going to play h5, and then we're going to see what happens. It's tricky. Black is going to get a passed pawn. I mean, on h5, white could play f5, but black takes, and white takes on h5, and white's pawn is actually going to be weak, and whereas black's, that might still be the right thing for white to do. So bishop e5, h5, f5, gf5, gh5. That could be something for white to consider here. It also could be extremely difficult. Well, h5 opens up the way for king f5 and king g4 too. So things are looking better for black a little bit. And white did play knight d5, and black took it. And so it seems to me that whichever way, well, I mean, white's going to take with the c pawn. Otherwise, it wouldn't make much sense to take the other way. But he does. He took with the e pawn. It looks wrong to me. Queen e8, and then you can't take on a5, I don't think, without allowing, and it would allow knight b3. What's white's idea here after queen e8? Bishop e3? You can still play knight b3, or you can play e4. Yes, something's gone wrong here. Even you could play knight e4, I guess. Okay, so that makes queen d7 a little better, because now knight e4 can be met by knight b3, and you win the exchange. White's on the verge of collapse, perhaps, I think, here. Faced with the loss of the exchange. I don't know about collapse, but I mean, it's starting to look kind of dire. On board 2, I'm sorry, on board 4, we have Theo Biasis. Oh, and this has got to be a success for black to play rook c4. What has gone wrong here? It's like knight c5 is probably necessary here. This allows rook c4. I'm not really, I can't make this game out. I just can't make this game out.
Theo drew.
This game ended in a draw?
Yeah.
Okay. I think this game didn't make much sense to me. It's very difficult to figure out. I think the players were confused, and they confused me. So I find that unforgivable. Yeah.
They made a fool out of you? Or?
They made a fool out of me. Yeah. Okay, so should white play f5 check, or should white play? I'm sorry. After black plays h5. Should white play f5 check or take on h5 or play g5? G5 looks bad. King F5. I mean, this is tricky. This is very tricky. There's no doubt about it. But H5, this game is heating up here. I mean, even taking on F3 and then playing H5 might be the right thing to do here. It might be time to take that knight off. I kind of like that. Bishop F3, King F3, H5. Now maybe F5 check, and maybe it's white that's better after GF5, GH5. Whew. This is a scary position. Although, yeah, this is a scary position here for both sides. It requires a lot of careful moves. So H5, F5 check, King F7, that would be probably good. All right, so the bishop would have to move. And then black can play H takes G4. Okay. Seems clear to me, or seems most likely. White plays knight e4 and is about to lose the exchange. Knight b3, and if not, knight f6 check doesn't work, bishop takes, queen takes, knight takes d2, and that's that. So what does white do on this? He can play bishop g5, but then f5 probably is crushing. Yeah. It looks to me like knight b3 is pretty simple here. White has only vague compensation. For the exchange. And he plays it. I don't see what, I think white is just, he's not in good shape here. Knight f6 check does not work. Bishop g5 is met strongly by f5, I think. And black is a good player. I think I'm picking him to win this tournament. So, board 4, this game has ended in a draw. So we've got 2 games going, and black did play bishop f3. And now h5 is met by f5 takes and g takes h5, and that bishop g5 h6. Okay, then king f7. King f4. Whoever gets the outside pass pawn here, somebody like f5 check. King f7. And then the white bishop can go to h6. This is a very, if white takes on h5, I think he's lost. Black king goes to f5, and white is in serious trouble there. I think there's going to be, the pawn is going to deflect the king, and then I feel like black should win that. So GH5, bishop, yeah, F5 check looks forced. And now, white eliminates both can eliminate both kingside pawns if king F7, bishop E5, and then could black really slip forward. This is a tough little position here. I have no idea what's going on here. King F7, bishop E5. GF5, GH5, bishop G5, H6, king F7. And is black winning? F7, okay. Bishop must move to H6 is safe because it guards the diagonal. I think it's safe. Goes to E5 without even thinking. What if black tries bishop G5, trying to go down to C1? I guess white can play bishop F4. Wow. All right, let's just quickly jump on to this game. And white played C5. Okay, what happened? Knight E4, and black did play knight B3, and white played C5. Ah. So, and takes. And knight C5 can be met by knight takes C5, rook C5, pawn E4. So that's not working. Knight F6 still, of course, doesn't work because of takes, bishop, queen takes, and not knight takes rook, bishop H6, but knight takes D2. So knight takes C5, loses a piece, or loses the exchange again. Might be the best move though. Knight takes C5, knight takes C5, rook C5, pawn E4, queen A3. I don't believe it. Bishop A1, queen A1, rook B1 check. I think white's lost. And black played bishop G5, trying to go into C1, and white takes there, and we might be getting a draw here. Both the kingside pawns come off. Bishop F4, and the bishop goes back. I think we have a draw on this board. Bishop F4, bishop goes back to, or goes to H4, for example. Okay. We've got the final couple games, few games here. On board one, Jeffrey Wang versus Henry Dang, and white is now 2 pawns down and faced with the loss of the exchange. and as well as various positional threats like f5, knight takes d2, and pawn e4. This is white needs to come up with something here, something good. Otherwise, it's just losing. And he's got 4 minutes and 15 seconds to do it. White's played bishop f4, and black needs to get his bishop. Let's see, if king g6, bishop g5, king g5, that looks like a draw. King g3, king f5, king f3. That's actually a win for black, right? Because of the extra tempo moves available on the queen side. Black easily puts white into Zhuang. Then I think that's an easy win, right? Well, black might have. Oh, I see. White could have played king g4 on king g6 as well. Yeah, there's just, it doesn't look like black can win this. Or he can play his king into h3. But then what? How does he make the white king move? I don't see how you can make the white king move. This has got to be a draw. Unless white's reckless, I think. And white plays bishop a5 and is going to lose the exchange. And maybe f5 is the right move here. I think black must have a win here in some way. So knight a1 could be met by knight c5 maybe. Or so is this white's idea, this desperate idea. Okay, black plays f5 first. It makes sense. Now knight c5 loses a clean exchange after knight c5, rook c5, pawn e4. In fact, it loses a rook because queen a3, bishop a1, queen a1, rook b1 is winning the queen. So if that's the case, white is lost. Knight c5 does not work. Oh, okay. This has got to be a draw. Only if black can play bishop g5 and bishop c1, he might be able to win with Zhuang. So white should play bishop f4 here, and then bishop g5, and then what's going on? King g3. Wait a minute. Bishop g5, king g5. King g3, b6, king f5. Now maybe white can still draw after king, with the white king on e3 and the black king on g4. I think white can still draw with king e2. King f4, king f2, king e4, king e2. So it looks like you can still draw maybe. King g3, king e3. You know, black can go all the way underneath, right? King g2. No, then king e2. I think this is a draw with the bishops off the board. And did Henry bring it home? Yep. Just, nice strong play and some accurate moves at the end show a lot of self-control, and I've noticed that about him from the previous round as well.
Yeah.
Just like
Solid. Gonna.
hold on, can you take over for a second?
Well, actually, I'm coming to sign off. Actually, because we have. We're at 5 o'clock. We're getting ready to get the last round ready to go, and Paul's got some prior commitments too. So we're gonna get ready to sign out, but trying to see.
Yeah, I will need you. But
Yeah, I don't see anyone available, but
won't be coming back.
so we'll just sign out now, and thank you everyone for following the Donaldson Championship. We're going to resume the stream tomorrow, around 11 a.m. and rounds 4 and 5 tomorrow. So
That's a lot safer.
go to the mechanics site. You could check out our event page for the standings, the pairings, all that stuff. So check it out. And we will be back on tomorrow. Hopefully you follow Mechanics Institute, Mechanics Chess. So follow us and check us out tomorrow morning, round 4 and 5 coverage of the Donaldson Championship.
Bye, everybody.